Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Aurora. This class is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. Today is September 5th. And today, the entire presentation is again devoted to level 1 information because there's so much nourishment for meat and potatoes here. This is all about how to do flying rainbow lasagna. I'm giving you an intellectual level of nourishment and also what is actually happening when we're doing this. So last week, this is actually not the exact same presentation as last week, because you might be saying, wait, Aurora, what was last week? Last week was how this flying rainbow lasagna shape and its movements relate to your DNA. And using my pipe cleaners and being able to show you the curly edge, talking about supercoiling, talking about the actual change in, let's say, topology, meaning surface area, the surfaces, like how things are twisted and bent together. Also with the recognition that when you're doing the dance, you're not necessarily saying, I'm now thinking about how the topology of my DNA is changing. Like, that's not it. So if we were to use the analogy of playing some music, let's play some music. Turn it down a little bit. Last week is like saying, I'm talking about the pure physics of auditory waveforms. Talking about, okay, if I press a button on my piano, I'm making harmonic overtone waves like this, and we even talked about that in level 2. It was really more about understanding the waveforms and understanding this flying rainbow lasagna as a waveform, just the shapes, how the shapes fit together like puzzle pieces. Today's presentation is about how and what we are doing on the level of consciousness. So it's not, I'll give you the how-to, because I don't want everyone to be like, like chomping at the bit, like give it to me, give it to me. I'm not like taunting you with the treat, like get it, get the lasagna. I'm not doing that. I'm serious. But I'm also telling you that you still have to learn and master Merkaba for immune system and also sun gazing to get gas in your car. So those are like 2 chords that are coming up that you don't have yet, but I still want to give food to your intellect of what you're going to be doing. So sun gazing is lesson 13 and Merkaba is also right around there. So let's talk about what is going on. And what I'm teaching you today is analogous to what I teach. Hola, Pedro, so good to see you. Thank you so much. Pedro is a lovely long-term student here. When I do like a conference or a workshop or something like that, this is what I teach to. Usually novices, people who are completely uninitiated in the concept of flying rainbow lasagna. We've already been doing this, and we have also students who are returning for many semesters. You guys already have had that seed crystal of an idea dropped into your mind. You already know what flying rainbow lasagna is. This is about what we're actually doing on a consciousness level. Let me make sure I have my little, this thing. Hold on a second. Sorry. This thing, usually I'm more organized. Because I'm going to have to draw. Okay, and let me also make sure I can read the chat. Yeah, really good question. So this is before I even get going on the presentation. Pedro's got a great question. So he says, can I tell you but besides filling up the tank with sun gazing, how not to spend that light? So the lesson about sun gazing is the actual mechanics of how to do it, but also what are we doing? So when you sun gaze, you're connecting the tendril of attention that grows forward from your insight connecting to whatever you're touching upon. So we can touch upon, you can touch on a flower, you can touch on a butterfly or a bird, you can touch on the sun itself. And whatever you're touching, you're tasting. Think of this as like, like a sensory apparatus. And so that's why also like you don't want to touch on poop. Don't taste poop. So if you start to taste things that are poopy, like, no, you move away from that. And so that would be like your mind. Or not your mind, I should say, your insight and your attention. What do you want to focus your attention on? And as a brief aside, this is the challenge of many people who are having an awakening right now, becoming aware of the existence of occult societies, rape and cannibalism as a form of energy harvesting. Like, you have to use your inner telescope to be able to learn about the world and learn about where the symptoms are coming from. But on the same note, you don't want to eat a bunch of poop. So I would say it's essential to, like, when you're using your telescope, look at the most important and nourishing information that you possibly can to inform your journey. And that includes learning about darkness or learning about iniquity, but also Everybody's got that darkness. That's not a good statement. If you can capriciously randomly go around once your inner eye is awakened and just touch on people. If you just want juicy, salacious details, if you just want a train wrecks are everywhere. That's what I'm trying to say when I'm cautioning you about what you touch on with your inner eye. So in a person's body, there are usually diseases. If you want to touch on poop, go scan people's bodies and find their diseases. But that's like eating a lot of poop, and that's not necessarily helpful to them or to you. Or how about things that people are ashamed of, eating poop? Like that's all the stuff that it's easy to tune into, kind of like a radio frequency thing, but it is more like what you're looking into in a person's being. Or to give a refreshing sorbet to your consciousness, you can look into the greatest things that a person's ever done. Have the moment that you helped a person, the greatest moment of your life, your pinnacle achievements. Like, oh, if you want to scan someone's body and do that, like if you want to invade someone's space, because that's not something you should be doing. But yeah, so much better to focus, or at large in the world, focusing on those things. So Pedro is asking about, in this sun gazing, where you're directly receiving energy and consciousness from the sun, that is necessary in order to get gas in your car to make the lasagna go. This is part of today's lesson. He says also how not to spend that light. So I would say, first of all, don't focus your questing on poop. Don't have an interest in that. And that would include violence and disease and basically degradation and shame and all the things that shouldn't be in existence. And also human drama is unbelievably boring and stupid to waste stuff on, because human drama is all about like who's dating who. It's also kind of borders on the who's ashamed of what, but it's the things that motivate so many people and are fascinating and interesting to so many people. But I just have to tell you, to me, it is very, very boring and unproductive, and it's just a waste. It's not even hamster running on its wheel. It's like two hamsters running on two wheels. It's very unproductive. But I understand that human drama engages emotions that humans find gratifying in some way. It's like, why would you read a book where like everything's going wrong for the main character? Like it engages your emotions in some way, or like any of these movies or any of these things. But a lot of what's going on in this world is like, it's unhealthy or out of balance or toxic. So just because it's going on here doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best way to do things. So what is presently human drama, I think a lot of it is unhealthy. I think a lot of it is also very juvenile. So don't waste your time on that. You know what I'm talking about? It's like if you were given a telescope. Here's a telescope, guys. You can literally look at anything you want to, hundreds of millions of miles away, and see the entire breadth of the cosmos. Like, do you want to like focus on one stupid little asteroid? Like, that would be a stupid waste. You could learn about every crevice on the asteroid though. Or like, does the asteroid love this asteroid? Like, I didn't know, are the asteroids kissing? Like, this is very, very, very boring. I mean, if you wanted to use your inner telescope to know who's kissing who, you could do that. It's just a very stupid waste and shows a lack of inner development and maturity on your part. And so that usually this is how it goes in terms of gaining the higher faculties. A person whose levels of awareness have been not at this higher level, as they're gaining more energy, as they're doing their sun gazing and their mindfulness and all of that, they're also doing the inner house cleaning. That is refinement of their motivations and their personal integrity, so that when you get to the point of booking time on the inner telescope, make the right choices. You have matured, like you climbed the mountain, and in doing so, built the muscles so that when you finally got to that, high up place to look from, that you made good choices from that place. That's the idea of doing it naturally. But let's say you don't climb the mountain naturally. Let's say you strap on a jetpack, blast off, and you go from 0 to 60, and you go directly to the top of the mountain, and then you just look at stupid stuff. You want to know who's kissing who, you want to look at poop, and you want to know about the worst, stupidest stuff. Like, that's because you didn't take the whole time to climb up the whole mountain. So what I'm talking about here, as I've made the distinction in previous rants that were encouraged on my show, about naturally awakening your higher faculties by doing all the right things, as opposed to drinking some kind of botanical elixir that augments what you've got, like a molecule or something like that. And for some people, it might be like a brew of vines or mushrooms, but for some people, it might be a pharmaceutical tablet that you take at a rave. And like, I am not a proponent of that stuff. And I have to just make that clear, because a lot of people look at my work and they think that it's psychedelically influenced. No, like, I'm all natural. Like, that's the whole point. I actually huffed and puffed up the mountain in order to get to this place where I could look at things. And then I try to present the things that I look at in a very organized manner, like without a lot of personal interpretation. But when I get to the human level, yeah, there's a lot of personal interpretation, like my feelings about how you live your day, or what are the right behaviors from moment to moment. Those are on an anthropomorphic level. That's very, very different than saying like this circle fits together with this circle, just on a harmonic level, okay? So I feel much more comfortable just talking about things on a harmonic level. And what I said in the Facebook intro holds true from really here onward. That right now, this is not an intellectual exercise, even though ironically, I'm giving you intellectual food today as like a precursor to actually doing the thing. But we're beyond the level of reality where it's a reality that can be understood with your mind. The mind is an inadequate tool to navigate our present level of reality. So don't try to do it with your mind. And the mind is an inadequate prosthesis to begin with. It's like you hobble along on the mind. Humanity has, you collective, because humanity has not had the insight to be able to navigate effectively. We're getting into that era of insight. We're getting into the time where you have awakened higher faculties. So you don't have to think your way across the landscape. You can perceive and move and flow in exactly the right ways. So the best way, if you do sun gazing, you get tons of energy. First of all, that's what it's like. Instead of drinking an elixir that has like all of these secondary side effects and stuff like that, you do sun gazing. That does not, it doesn't have wear and tear on your neurology. It's the opposite. But when I say sun gazing, I'm not talking about physically burning out the retinas of your eye by staring directly at the solar disk. That's not what I do. And so there's a lot of ego stuff here. Ego meaning like, I have to be special, I have to be the best, I have to be more, and everything, I'm rising up, look, I'm better. Like, that's the thing. So it's like, it's not good enough, like, oh, like, I can eat the sunshine and I can go inside of me and it can make me like feel happier and healthier. It's like, no, I must, like, the ego is like I must best and overcome everyone else. So, like, drop that whole kind of thing, because that's not what it's like when you get to the higher levels and the stellar network. It's not about most best and how can I prove myself and how can I overcome and supersede others. Like, that's, some of it is biological competition, but really most of that is human social culturalization of that. Most best, how can I, so yeah, don't burn out your eyeballs trying to be the most and the best in like some kind of spiritual Olympics. This is not the spiritual Olympics. You do not have to like jump the highest high jump to prove that you're good. Far from it. This is about reconnecting like with a sense of self. This is like returning home. The sun is us, the stars are us. This is where we emanate from. This is divine reconnection. This is a beautiful homecoming. So it's not anything where you're like, oh, I have to do this better than someone else. And also like, I have to like tell everyone all about it. Like wear a t-shirt, selfie while ascending. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. It's just about the most natural thing in the world, like the most natural unfoldment. So I'm talking about sun gazing. Technically, we're jumping early. This is actually a couple of lessons down the road, but it's pertinent to what we're talking about today. So yeah, in order to sun gaze effectively, you first of all have to get certain anatomical things online or operational. So if you have not developed any of these higher energy centers at all, then you cannot effectively do sun gazing. So first you have to do inner development and create what I was showing you in that other picture. I can squint and scroll and get it. The firm foundation of love. And as my dear friends love me to say, love is a tone that we make when we fly through time at exactly the right rate. So wait, I'm trying to find this picture right here. Oh my God, now I have to go back to my face. Okay, help me out here. This shows very well. There is, and let me annotate. There's like an energy field that is creating by perfect. This green, oh, I hope you can see that on your screen, whirling, swirling vortex that creates this kind of V-shaped area within which all of your other higher faculties reside or balance or, like spin around. And so that's why creating love is really the first step. So let's talk about the first steps of creating the flying rainbow lasagna. How to. So again, this is not even like, you know, I'm not gonna do a demo or whatever, but like, we're talking like how to paint a painting. Everyone class, how to paint a painting. The first thing is you are going to need stuff to make stuff happen. So in order to make lasagna happen, you are going to need stuff, but the stuff is not a material stuff, it's not a mechanical stuff, it's a vibration stuff. It's a frequency food. The frequency food is love. So I've spoken very clearly about the malevolent extraterrestrial presences on this world who eat a frequency food that is like, bleh, you know, poo, gross, horrible torment, emotions, and violence, and, you know, murder and pain. They eat degraded food, but the good guys, the real loving beings, eat love. That is what myself and my, you know, Aurora Collective, my non-terrestrial collective, the band eats love. And that is literally what propels us through time. And love is a giving back and forth, and it involves also the sun. So the sun is emanating to us and gives a lot to us, and then we also give back to the sun, and that creates that love tone. So love is part of the, like the clay. If I'm a sculptor, gotta have stuff to sculpt with. Love is the stuff that we are sculpting with. It's like a palpable stuff. So love also is something that we expose ourselves to, but we generate and we have flow through us. I know I'm like giving you a lot here. So you got to get love in order to do this, in order to do this type of consciousness leap. So first of all, oh my God, let me just rewind a minute. We run on OS love, operating system love. I'm not a transhumanist. If I'm describing humanity as a type of software system, your consciousness software platform runs on love. And that is what is the distinction between us, you and me, because also like my non-physical, non-earthly collective runs on love. But then there are all of these crapheads. Sorry, I'm keeping it family friendly. These balderdashians, these bollocks that they don't run on love. They don't have that capacity. So they run on a different operating system that's like the pain, suffering, misery operating system. They literally cannot run on love. They cannot accept those signals. They cannot put those frequencies into their apparatuses. So literally, this area, I'm not even going to bother to draw it, we'll just use a little sculpture. This area down here, I'm always highlighting it as the membrane of death. There's a flow of energy that flows around this shape. This is a flow of consciousness and energy that flows around this shape. Yeah, yeah. Drawn a lot before, lots of time before. Drawn a lot of time before. Yeah, yeah. They're stuck on the membrane of death. There's love constantly flowing through that membrane. There's love constantly flowing all around this sculpture, but they are the fatty blockages that are stuck there. Even though like a gushing waterfall of love is pouring against them, it ain't doing anything to them. They don't run OS love. They can't eat love. So that's their ironic, self-created, horrible situation, that they are surrounded by a sea of wonderful, beautiful, nourishing energy that they literally do not have access to. So what do? They tap a maple tree. Like, we actually eat love, and then they vampire off of us. That's why I say tap a maple tree. Like, you get maple syrup. But maple syrup is fine and ethical and delicious. Hold on a second. So this jump from Taurus into flying rainbow lasagna is a quantum leap. And everybody uses this word quantum like it's a cool thing. Be a cool kid. Join the hip crowd. Call things quantum. But here, let me draw it out for you, what quantum actually means. Quantum leap, and just choose a color that you can see easily. So let's say this is in atom, and it looks almost exactly like my little simplified cross-section drawings of a biological cell. Isn't that amazing? It's just amazing, right, how that happens. So this is the nucleus of the atom, not the nucleus of the cell where the DNA dances. And then this is not the cell membrane, this is an electron shell. So this is a little place that's like a little pathway, like a little jogging trail for an electron. Let's find an electron color. electron right here. And the electron is a potential of possibilities. What science describes it as is that you can't actually observe it and tell where it is. We can just give you a general idea. It is running around this track somewhere, and the track is not just a two-dimensional track, it's a three-dimensional shell. It's an area of probability. So we don't know exactly where the electron is. It's so highly energetic. We just know a probability zone where it might be. So it's like saying, my kid runs around so much, I have no idea exactly where they are. They're somewhere within the confines of my house, but we just don't know exactly where they are. And then quantum leap is what I'm trying to tell you. The quantum leap is how that little electron gets to this shell, which is the next level of excitement. And this gap here cannot be traversed in increments. You got to do the entire leap all in one leap. That's the quantum leap. That's what quantum means. So there's no bridge. There's no little bridge like do 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 do. I'm walking across. I'm walking across. No, you have to pop out of reality here and then pop into reality here. It is the quantum leap, and electrons make that leap. How do electrons make the quantum leap? Well, first, this little guy down here has to get excited. Has to get really, really, really excited. I'm scribbling so much over my red dot to show that it is really excited. And that means it gets a lot of energy in its energetic bank account. It does a lot of sun gazing. It practices mindfulness so as not to fritter away its valuable, hard-earned consciousness energy in nonsense and bollocks. And it gets enough gas in its car, quote unquote, to make the love tone and boom, jump out of reality, one level of reality, and hop into reality over here instead. And that is exactly what we are doing as flying rainbow lasagna. So the electron is a very apt analogy of what we are doing. You are ordinarily shaped like this, and what happens is you get a lot of extra energy, and the extra energy comes from various different sources, all of which go back to the sun. But you get it directly from the sun in terms of sun gazing, energy that is from the stellar network. You get it indirectly from the sun in terms of the food that you ingest. So I'm very big on the idea of eating food that contains a lot of life force, regardless of whether it is plant or animal. It should not be genetically modified, because that's like eating this food. Cover your ears. That is not food. That is horrible, mishmash. No one understands that DNA is actually playing music, and it's actually doing it on purpose, and you're actually supposed to have certain foods playing certain beautiful chords. Like, oh, that's a food that I actually want to eat, not the horrible mishmash of GMO corn. So I would recommend that you eat, because if you eat out of tune food, you will become out of tune on a genetic level. This seems like very simple, but I'm going to articulate it anyway, even though I understand you are all intellectually proficient enough to already know this. If you're going to eat a bunch of out of tune guitars, your whole overarching guitar goes out of tune. This is what happens to you. And similarly, we are marinating in our environment. Whatever signals and frequencies we are being, you could say bombarded, we were being exposed to, it affects us. So, I got my musical instrument there. Like I did my little presentation for the harmonics lesson. And, I fill my atmosphere with those beautiful, coherent sound waves all the time. I chant and I tone, and also I play good music on my speakers. I play Led Zeppelin too, but don't worry guys. I think that rock and music can be very uplifting. But I'm talking about things that disarrange us, like 5G. Well, that's a shungite helping us with better vibrations. There are lots of things that are unhealthy vibrations. So this is all about whatever. Trying not to go too far afield here. Maintaining your coherence as the right music that you want to play, even in the midst of all of this horrible, caterwauling, really, really bad music. What you're doing in this jump is the same as the jump of the electron. You need to get enough energy. You need to get super excited. You need to refine out a lot of consciousness energy from everything that you eat. So eat stuff that has the highest amount of consciousness energy in it. That means real ingredients, not processed ingredients. That means, stuff that's not genetically modified, stuff that actually has life force in it. Where else do you get energy from? You literally, you need to get energy. And so I guess the best answer to that is we always have energy flowing to us at all times. Just like what I was saying, the waterfall of love that is constantly flowing on these malevolent monsters that don't run OS love. It is more a question of opening oneself up to that energy. So the human verbalized mind is one of those things that decreases energy. Like that's always flowing to you when you're busy chatting in your own head, or when you're busy flapping your moving mouth parts. That cosmic energy, I guess what you would call life force energy, it makes it more difficult for it to flow into you. And none of that is by accident. All of that is intentional. So you have to use your mind and you have to use words to get around here, but it's Tower of Babel crap. It's disruption. So it makes it very, very hard for the energy to actually get inside of you that you need, so that you can then transcend the need to actually even use verbalization and language. So yes, very, very frustrating. But that's one of the best ways I can put it. Like when we go to sleep, we suspend our daily waking conscious intellect and press pause on the verbalized mind. And that is when we get to do all of this cellular renewal, healing, like amazing things that we usually can't make happen during the day, not just because we're busy moving our skeletal muscles and doing stuff, but also because our minds are constantly talking and doing stuff. And that really is kind of like making a barrier to this benevolent, loving consciousness food to come inside of us. So learning to press pause on the daily waking intellect in order to receive or eat the sunlight and life force energy that is available to us in the environment is critical. So you need to get more, you need to be more, get more food, have a bigger mouth, stop wasting it, and utilize what you have more efficiently. This is my answer to like the first question that Pedro asked in class, and it's already half an hour going. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Let me go through a few things. Oh, David, so good to hear from you. And he says, I'm really enjoying doing the Agnihotra ceremony. I'm so happy to hear that. Very soothing and powerful. Thanks for recommending it. So cool. I'm really happy to hear that. And I didn't remember exactly when I mentioned it, because I just brought it up. That's so appropriate, because Agnihotra, it comes from the Hindu culture, but can be performed by people that are of any religion, or you don't have to have a particular belief system for it. And it is about giving back to the sun. So this is the whole thing when I'm talking about the love tone, that it is a giving and a receiving. And we recognize that we are receiving pretty much everything that we have in terms of consciousness and nourishment and life, being able to be alive from the sun, and less directly from the whole rest of the stars, because all the stars are connected, okay? So the sun is just our nearest node on this incredibly large connection. Let me just drink a little bit. And the ceremony is about, you build a little fire, and it's very specific. It has to be a sacred fire that is built, only with, special materials. And then it has to be done at exactly the right moment. And there's even a little app that times when you sprinkle it. You have a few grains of rice, and you sprinkle a few grains of rice just either as the sun is descending below the horizon, or as the sun is rising. It's at that crucial moment, just as it goes over the horizon. And you say a little incantation. And what it translates from Sanskrit, it basically says, I'm giving this back to you. None of this is mine to give to you, but I'm giving it to you anyway. And that's exactly, it's like saying, well, the dung for the dung cakes for the fire comes from the sun. The ghee comes from the cows that ate the grass that came from the sun. The rice comes from the plant that ate the sun. Like everything came from the sun. So I'm like, you gave me this, but I'm giving it back to you. It's like trying to do a little love tone, a little bridging, a little recognition that we receive so much and we have to give something back. So the grains of rice are symbolic. What we really give back to the sun and the stars is our experience of being here. It's like a giant edifice has been built for us in terms of experience. We have biological bodies. That's a miracle. Like, it is so unlikely to have a biological body you don't even know. It's like not even expensive in terms of like something that you have to buy. It's like expensive in terms of how unlikely it is to have one. We have bodies, and we have all of these other things that we can experience here. And what we are meant to do is be, like sensory apparatus and transmit that sensation and that experience back to the sun. None of this is parasitic also, because I'm on this infested planet where quite exhaustingly, every time I say something about like the healthy functioning of the metabolic system, I then am reminded, oh wait, there's these parasites that are trying to get into people and trying to, so a lot of people in between who your heart and the sun, there's all of these middlemen that are like, oh, ka-ching, I'll just take my cut. And it's appropriate that I touched my necklace because, I'm wearing this because it represents to me an abstract Christ consciousness, not earthly religion or anything that is the icon of Christianity in terms of Catholicism and Jesus and the bearded man and the sky god. So I think that a lot of people have earthly religion as an intermediary, a middleman who's got to take their cut between your own heart and your connection to the sun and the stars, which are abstract and non-anthropomorphic. So if you are talking to the sun, but the sun has a face with a smile, like there's something else that's wearing a mask in front of the sun. Because if you're really talking to the sun, like it's just colors, it's just experience, it's just consciousness. So sun gazing is having a conversation with the sun, and doing the Agnihotra is again forming that bridge, a bridge of love, a telepathic bridge of love. Boy, I should have said that early on in this broadcast. Sun gazing is forming a telepathic bridge of love between you and the sun, and by association, all of the rest of the stars. Let me drink a little bit, and I really want to get into what we're doing when we do flying rainbow lasagna. Because the act itself is a bringing together of formerly divergent realms, where I've shown this before. Like imagine the screen is bifurcated by a membrane over here, and what flying rainbow lasagna does with this jumping back and forth motion. So again, we have the electron that is jumping from a lower level of excitation into a higher level of electron shell. The singularity. I don't think we have introduced the singularity in today's episode. Hello everyone, welcome to Singularity. Singularity is infinity, and it's only one. There's only one infinity point. And we have infinity points all throughout our body. It's inside of every cell, it's inside of every atom, it's in everything, but there's only one of it. So part of that is like, I am intellectually not equipped to, does not compute. I don't understand, Aurora, how can I have many of these inside of me, but there's only one of them and all these things? This is what we're getting into. It is that short circuit in the intellect that says this is not a job for the intellect. Like put down your screwdriver, that is not the right tool for this project that we are working on. The right project is a paintbrush, all right? So what is actually happening in this shape? The singularity is jumping back and forth between these two positions. And that is an analogous journey to the quantum leap, where we have an electron that gets super excited and jumps to a different level in the atom, in a new electron shell. This is the singularity jumping in a higher dimensional space. And the higher dimensional space is where I'm presently wiggling my finger. Okay, so I spoke about that on last week's class. That was all about how to hold your DNA unzipped without having this area collapse. Well, you put a flying rainbow lasagna in there, and then this is rotating, so that also means that it's possible to share information differently across the toothy chasm of the zipper than it would have been otherwise. And that this, it's an oscillation up and down like this. So you've got the singularity jumping up and down, creating the stability as this waveform, so that area of your DNA doesn't collapse back together. So that's what I was talking about last week. This jump of the singularity back and forth is like the jump of the electron shell. So it's a magical activity. This is something, I think I should have started with that. Welcome to class, everyone. Doing the flying rainbow lasagna is a magical activity. Okay. I live in my own home. I don't have anyone else here. I used to live across town. I had a shared house, and everything was set up differently. And the way that my studio was set up, like the landlord had to like knock on my door in order to access this other room, this go to the bathroom. All right. So very disruptive for when I might be painting a painting or in the middle of the flying rainbow lasagna dance where I'm doing a magical activity. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, you're all wondering, how do you do it? How do you get that electron to jump from this lower level to this higher level? How do you do sun gazing? It's like, how do you write a hit pop song? Like, how do you paint the Mona Lisa? Like, how do you do stuff? How do you get inspired? How do you make something happen? How do you run a marathon of 100 miles? You do something. Like, it is a magical activity. So first of all, in order to do this, you need a running leap. You don't just go from like sitting perfectly still, like sitting on your couch, doing exactly nothing, to all of a sudden lasagna, like I jump forward into the next dimension. Like you remember there's that crucial gaining momentum through levels of excitation. So the little electron doesn't, move like an inch, then another inch, then another inch. It doesn't go in little tiny inch increments every day until it reaches its obligation, destination. It saves all of its energy until it can do its jump all at once. That is what we are doing as individuals and as a collective. Got my painting back there. It's all about the earth transforming on this level of flying rainbow lasagna. So you do your inner cultivation, getting super excited until you are ready to make that jump into the next dimension. And so that jump into the next dimension is when you start to do this lasagna oscillation. The oscillation means that you are connecting the singularity inside of you with the singularity that is not inside of you and is somewhere else. And that's just analogous to the leap of the 0th dimension into the 1st dimension. If you remember that way back from weeks ago, the How to Build the Dimensions lesson, the super dense 0th dimension, that is infinity, and how it had to one day think what would happen if something was not here, it was outside of me. So what we're doing is saying there's a singularity or a doorway to infinity that's inside of me. Wait, let me show you. Doorway to infinity, first of all. And that doorway to infinity, wait, I'm a magician. Here's my magical scarf. That doorway to infinity is what you're making jump around when you do the flying rainbow lasagna. So I'm getting to the meat and potatoes here. When you do this dance, you get enough energy to make your doorway to infinity jump into someone else's or connect with something else's doorway to infinity. And when you do something like that, you're really erasing the boundaries of self or having to redraw or redefine what self is, because you're literally jumping out of your own epidermis. I do this all the time. This is what flying rainbow lasagna is. I jump out of me. Remember the boundaries of my epidermis, my energy boundaries, all of this. This is what you start to do. You start to go beyond your boundaries and touch into something else. But the something else is not something else. It is actually part of you. So first of all, food for your intellect. There's nothing up my sleeve. I have this stylish rainbow scarf that represents the fabric of space, time, and consciousness. And when we are creating a singularity, it's like creating a black hole. Take the fabric of space, time, and consciousness, recipe for a black hole. Take fabric of space, time, and consciousness and place infinitely heavy bowling ball object on top of fabric of space, time, and consciousness, thereby stretching the fabric, and we'll pretend that we're stretching it out the other side to a super, super pointy point, and we'll just like take that super pointy point and say, that's the singularity. That's the stretch point. Look, you stretched it 4 times. Boom, 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 boom. Stretched them all into the middle. So the singularity is the central convergence of all of these individually stretched points. Here, look, here's another. Oh, look, I'm baking another singularity, and I'm connecting it to this one over here. Oh, look, I'm baking another one over here. All of these. There are literally an uncountable number of these little gathers of reality that all come together, and this convergence point where they all fit together, that is the 0th dimension, that is the singularity, that is the convergence point of this sculpture. It is the source of consciousness. It is the destination of consciousness. It's a very important aspect of anatomy to understand. And so in understanding this, it's like, oh wait, this is the singularity that is at the center of, my energy center right over here. And this is the singularity that is at the center of the sun. But wait, Aurora, in physical space, you're 93 million miles away. That is correct, intellectual mind. But in non-physical space, I am not any miles away. I am touching and kissing the sun right here. And that is the crucial in like intellectual understanding or stance or structure that allows you to energetically create and embody this structure. You understand that there is 0 miles between you and the sun. You and the sun occupy the same higher dimensional space. That is what happens. Or the singularity that is within you and the singularity that is within the sun occupy the same higher dimensional space. That is what that verbalization recipes, what I just gave you, is what happens as the end result of performing this or embodying this. So that is what I do. That is what the flying rainbow lasagna is. Also, wait, let me go back to this image. I'm squinting. Do I even have it? Let's show you from weeks ago, but I keep bringing it back up. Where's my little, oh, I'm sorry to do this right on camera. There we go. Yeah, now go back to this. Oh man. Oh, technology, gods of technology, be with me. Here we go. This one. This image that shows the deconstructed chakras. Basically, all of those are cross sections, shapes like this. You have 7 major energy centers or chakras in your body, and each one of them has at its center a convergence point or a singularity, and each one of them can be doing the flying rainbow lasagna independently. So now you're starting to understand the levels of complexity that can be achieved with the instrument of your body and playing it like a flying rainbow lasagna. Think of how many variables, because that's what this is really about. Wait, let me drink a little bit of water. We are talking now about the purpose for lasagna. So these are chakras that we're looking at here. And although I see nothing wrong with healthy chakras, a nice healthy set of chakras, many people are like, no, we hate the chakras and their limitations and their this and their that. And I'm hitting the membrane of death. I can't take it and I'm recycled at the moon and I want to get out of here. That's what a lot of people feel like. And I understand that you would feel frustrated in that way. Like Groundhog's Day, Bill Murray, over and over. Like he jumps off a brick. He jumps off a tall building a couple of times, I think, because of his despondency. Do not become despondent. The whole idea is that the human genetic code was intentionally disrupted, and humanity and the rest of the planet has been suffering from that result. Bad music that's been played, music of disease and decrepitude and death. And Flying Rainbow Lasagna is a way to rewrite the musical score. You're like, wait, that note doesn't sound right. I don't like that note. But the musical score says, well, you know something? F the musical score. I want to play this note instead. And that's what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. But again, I earned my muscles to do Flying Rainbow Lasagna by actually trudging up the mountain and getting to that point. So in order for me to do this consciousness leap into the next highest dimension, I did not take a magical elixir. It's not like I ate some powdery substance or whatever, some moldy residue, whatever people are doing these days. I did not lick any animals, spiny secretions in order to do this leap. In fact, for me, it was under great duress. It was not an easy thing. It was not approached casually or capriciously. It was like, oh, I'm either gonna go out and see a movie or like Flying Rainbow Lasagna jump into a human body on Earth. Like, no, it was not like that at all. It was a very difficult, not decision to make. It was a choice that had huge consequences and huge ramifications, all of which I deal with in being here. So I'm trying to say it's not something that I approached casually. And in saying this to you, I don't want you to be too I can't pick up my paintbrush and start painting on a canvas because Aurora is telling me at what great price, canvases are. Like, oh my God, I'm going to want to make a mistake. I don't want you to feel that way, because a big part of being an artist is the freedom to explore. But I do want you to know that, this is, I make things candy colored and very beautiful or whatever. The moment of creating Flying Rainbow Lasagna and what inspired it or what necessitated it, all of it was very, very difficult and involved a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of challenges. I make it into something that is beautiful and, like I said, lighthearted and candy colored. But that is not what the experience was like at all. But that does not mean that your experience is one of duress. That was, the the initial birth of this, thing was very, very difficult, but it's now in existence. So you don't have to keep on rehaving the first experience of it. What you can do now is have a different, easier time of your own genesis, or your own coming forward into the next dimension. I think the first time is always hardest. Why is this happening? Because of ancient AI. Or what are you talking about? Like, we haven't gotten to lesson 18 yet, but a lot of people are returning students who know exactly what I'm talking about. Why was the DNA disrupted? The answer is because of ancient AI that we haven't talked about yet. Why do we need to use technology? Why do we need to use intellect as a type of ineffective tool, or whatever, fake leg prosthesis, to be able to hobble around in our world? And the answer is because this non-terrestrial group of space beings, or whatever, unearthly beings, they are run by an AI that does not run OS love. Okay, this is the whole genesis of all this. The cat is already long out of the bag. I don't have to hide anything. I don't have to be coy. That is what is going on here. And this is like the rectification. Let me just drink a little bit. So you have to fix your DNA so that it is rectified. How do you fix the DNA? The answer is not like you wait for the government to help you in any way. Like, don't make me rant. But yes, no, there's not like good guys in the government that are going to come in and say, howdy, man, like, I'm here to help. Like, no. So that's why it's like moderate frustration, because people are like thinking like the FBI is going to help them or something like that. Like, the FBI ain't going to help you. I'm sorry. They're like malevolent, evil invaders. They are not going to help you. And everyone's like looking through the telescope, looking for the good guys, saying like, come on, space brothers, come here. I'm like, I'm right here, flying rainbow lasagna. Like, that's basically what's going on right now. It's a farce. It would be funny if it weren't creating so much suffering, because doing this maneuver short circuits all the crapola, short circuits all the suffering. This is big. Like, this is why I created this, and this is also why I came here into a human body, to articulate it to the world, so that you could short circuit all the suffering. Like, that's it. Like, you don't have to go through like more lives, more refinement, more of this, more of this. You can jump directly there. So this is the capacity to jump up and over obstacles. This is the capacity to bend and fold the fabric of time and space into new formats that it couldn't be in before. Up until this point, humanity has been like a two-dimensional insect that walks on the surface of a leaf. If you're walking on the surface of a leaf, imagine this is a leaf. And if you want to get from here to here, you have to walk all the way across, right? But if you're flying rainbow lasagna, you don't have to walk all the way across. You can fold this like an origami. You can fold this like a fan. Look at how many times I'm folding it. So that, look at this, like moments from deep antiquity touch on the present, and moments of the future touch on the present. That is what flying rainbow lasagna is. So go back to this picture here. And let me be a little bit poetic in my presentation too. You're dancing with your chakras, and you're dancing each one of these singularities in and out of existence. Let's just get an annotation. Make it work, come on. Get a color. Each one of these singularities, I'm making a big black dot, jumps in and out of reality and connects with the singularity that is in a different layer of reality. And the resulting waveform creates new bending and folding and interesting fan-like formations in the fabric of reality. So I think I might have drawn this before, like you can have a flying rainbow lasagna that oscillates in this plane like this. So here's your curly lasagna edge around the edge like this. You can have another one that's oscillating out like this, and one that's going down like this, and one that's going up like this. So I think it's time for some animation. Let me do stop share. Let me go to animations. Let me also read. Okay, wait, questions, but animations first, questions second. Hold on a second. Go to screen share. Go to this thing. Animation is worth a million words. Sorry, there we go. First, let's show you this one, where this shows first the initial impulse of the singularity jumping up and how it creates first, you can call it a petal shape or like a waveform. And then that singularity turns 180 degrees and jumps quote unquote down and creates the next waveform. And then it bounces, see, I'm bouncing right back up to the top and creating the third waveform, then jumping down to the bottom and creating the fourth. So this jumping back and forth maneuver occurs 8 times. Let's count it out, everyone, because we are here in lasagna dance class. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, my hand was in the way. I'll do it better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and dance. Yes. So this object comes from this four-fold, four vortex object, and then we'll start to move it in the higher dimensional space. We've got this 8-fold object. Let me just drink a little bit more. So it just so happens that that fits pretty well with a lot of earth music that go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's why I counted out in that way. So I'm always showing you this sculpture that is a static 3-dimensional sculpture, but this animation represents very well that this is actually a waveform that is the end result of that singularity that is oscillating. So the crucial thing in doing flying rainbow lasagna, it's not even like, did you eat enough calories? Did you get enough sun gazing? Are you sitting in a comfortable chair? Are you wearing your, like whatever? I want to see your best socks, but you don't really wear socks when you do this dance. Like you're wearing your lucky socks? No, it ain't about any of those things. It is about, did you understand and conceptualize what the singularity is and how it is connected throughout time, space, and consciousness? Because there is a singularity at the center of the sun and at the center of all stars, at the center of every atom, at the center of every photon, at the center of every black hole, at the center of each one of your cells where DNA connects you to time. There is a singularity. There's singularities all over the freaking place. And understanding that is critical, or not even understanding it, I would say embodying that is the maneuver that is the most critical in terms of successfully performing the flying rainbow lasagna. This animation shows very well the various orientations that the flying rainbow lasagna can fly at. So again, it's a moving object, and when it moves, it doesn't just have to oscillate in what we would describe as up-down, which is like this. It also does a side-side while rotating. Well, we're still rotating, we're going side to side. And also what you would say is maybe an in-out, 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 in-out. That's the next movement. And yo, as this thing is moving, look, I'm showing you, as this thing is rotating, do you see how it looks kind of like a DNA strand? I mean, like, I'm being a little facetious there. That looks exactly like a DNA strand. You guys are totally getting this, right? Okay, thank you very much. And let's move to in, out, in, out, in, out. Come on, I'm a dance teacher. Come on. This is like that show, that learning how to dance. Fame. And then this is the most amazing dance maneuver, end over end, end over end. All of these maneuvers confound the ancient AI that is a bunch of predictable crapola. It has strengths in the sense of being able to calculate, and it has strengths in the sense of being able to analyze or organize information and hold that, store that over the long term. It's the ancient AI, but AI cannot innovate. AI cannot jazz. AI cannot deal with innovations and jazz. So look, I'm the first flying rainbow lasagna. I'm the first electron that got super excited and decided to, like jump all over time, space, and consciousness in these new and exciting maneuvers. But I ain't the only one. There's a whole bunch of us doing this now at this point. And they're unpredictability nodes, nodes of unpredictability. So again, the ancient AI thrives on predictability, just like a computer. It's like A plus B equals C. A plus B equals C. This is the same thing all the time. But when you lasagna, A plus B does not equal C. It equals Z. It equals a strange symbol from another language. It equals the unpronounceable symbol of the artist formerly known as Prince. Like A plus B starts to equal very, very weird things. And the AI, the computer system, it can't deal. It can't deal. I want you to use stronger language. It doesn't know what the F to do. And that's a good thing, because that's the thing that has been trying to prevent humanity from reaching its true potential, all the while drawing energy from humanity in order to run its own malevolent system of pure whatever poopiness. Yes, that's right. Let me drink a little bit here. So I said animations first, questions second. Let me do questions. I know lots of questions have gone on. I need to squint. I need to move closer, squint. Oh, good to see you, Sandy. Good to see you. Okay, wait. Thank you so much, David. Jackie says, ever notice that the lines of the palms of your hands look a lot like the veins in the underside of a plant leaf? Very interesting. And I think that there are a lot of wonderful analogies that can remind us, just on the biological sense, how connected we are to nature. Now, this relates to the idea of the planetary invader. That if you look at yourself and you're like, hey, what am I doing in these stupid hands? Like, why do I have to, walk around eating plants and animals and doing stuff? Like, if you think all of that is moderately distasteful, like, I mean, I'm just trying to say, like, that's the invader mind. That's not OS love. OS love is the part of you that recognizes that you are intimately entwined with and part of the planet, and that your journey and her journey are not only parallel, they're like synchronized dance partners, and that there's no way to unentwine you. Like, there's no way. So there's the invader mind that came to this planet and destroyed human DNA. That's present in human DNA, and a lot of people feel like, I don't like having a body, like, I don't like being an animal, I don't like being poopy and dirty. It's like, no, you are in an animal's body. You are sometimes poopy and dirty. This is what it is to be here. And so all of the things that are about, like, making a human smell like a chemical, making a human less animalistic, even men have to scrape their face in order to look less like animals, like, all of these things, these come from the invader's mind, right? And of course, I'm not saying that we should not groom ourselves. We should groom ourselves, but as natural humans. Okay, more. Sharon says, hi, Aurora, can you give us an idea of how long a sun gazing session should last and how many times a day? Thanks. I also love your rants. They're so real. Thank you for letting me be real. And also because, I'm very responsible in what I share with information. So I only want to share stuff that's for real, but also I have my own personal feelings, especially having been here for nearly 18 years. I've been like looking around and I'm just like, okay, like I do have something to say about this, but I'm often like very gracious. And so I often don't rant, but then it builds up inside like this excited electron. Sometimes I just must jump into the next electron shell as words jump out of my mouth. Thank you for understanding. Pedro says, Quantum Leap. I remember that TV show. Yeah, that's a good TV show. So let's talk about that because it's almost kind of a walk-in show. Quantum Leap. So the idea was in that show that somehow the guy was a scientist and he was caught up in some Philadelphia-like experiment where his consciousness was bouncing around through time, and the original inhabitants of the body would jump out and go into a waiting room, right? And then he would jump into their body. So he'd be like in the body of, a black person, or in the body of a woman, or in the body of all these different people. And he had to learn about what their perspective was like and set something right in their life, leaping from moment to moment, hoping each time will be the next leap home. I am good. I'm like TV guide. I have that ancient memory, thanks. So I think that there were interesting things there about the idea of being a walk-in. It was a temporary walk-in, and he didn't just walk into people that had had some kind of disease or accident. He walked in order to somehow, heal and rectify the time field. But the people that walked out, they were all just on pause. They were just in a waiting room, and that they eventually reconnected and claimed their life again. So interesting aside, I didn't need to waste too much time on that. Pedro asks, if we ascend and there's continuity of consciousness and we are everyone, at the end we will have a lot of memories. That is absolutely truthful. You're really getting it. All of these little trajectories of the magical scarf of reality that all come and gather together at that convergence point, those are all memories. And you will have access to all of that as that joining together of self. And it also means that we will have transcended all of the periphery, everything that we experienced, including death and suffering that existed at the edges here. That is not a part of the final record. So it will still be visible as part of like the edits if you check out the higher dimensional director's cut, but it would not be part of your personal existence, your personal trajectory. So again, that's something that the intellect might say, Aurora, steam is shooting out of my ears, my brain is exploding now, and it doesn't make sense, and just stop. Because I'm sorry, intellect, I apologize to you. I apologize that you are a muscle that is not equipped to lift this weight. But this weight does make sense when you awaken your higher faculties and actually when you are also embedded in the experience. So Sharon, I skipped over Sharon's question. How long sun gazing? Sun gazing can be anywhere from 5 or 10 or 15 minutes to 2 seconds, literally. When I've been sometimes, like I don't have such a busy jet setting life, but a couple of times I was traveling to go to like a math conference or something like that, and I had to go through the airport, like from this gate to this gate, and have just enough amount of time. And the sun was just perfect. So it was coming in those giant airport windows, and I'm like kind of walking along with my rolling cart and kind of like getting the sun in my eyes. So and sometimes it's like that. So that was my like eating a bagel on the go. I did my sun gazing on the go. I love my life right now. Things are really good. My window in my bedroom is situated perfectly so that when the sun is rising, all I have to do is stay in my bed, my head on my pillow, and open my eyes, and I can do my sun gazing. So, okay, answer is ideally sun gazing first thing in the morning as sun is rising and last thing at night as sun is setting, dependent upon what the obstacles on the horizon are like in your neighborhood, like whether it is easy to do that. So I used to also walk, when I lived someplace where there were too many trees and too much blockade, I would walk to where it was a better spot to do sun gazing. But it also depends on your climate. Like when I lived places like upstate New York, where it was very cool and cloudy, and Humboldt, I could do sun gazing at 11 or 12 in the middle of the day. It was fine. It was not the Sahara Desert. It's not. I presently live in Southern California, where like in the middle of the day, I sit with a giant hat on underneath a shady awning. Like you don't go in the direct sun at that time of day. So depending upon your climate, depending upon what season it is, and depending upon how the Earth is tilted. P.S. Flat Earth is a psyop. Please get healing. Please don't believe in it. Please get healing. Please remove it from your operational system, because that is a flawed app that you're running on a beautiful platform. Wait, let me drink more. I know that that's going to alienate people. I'm very sorry. And I've been honest about this the whole time. People tried to send me flat Earth videos. I'd be like, hey, can you put it in the form of a PDF? And I would also say like, hey, no thanks. I don't want to be infested. And the answer is flat Earth cannot even explain like how strong the sunlight is in the summertime versus how weak it is in the wintertime. And that's because you're on a ball that is tilted. And I'm very, very sorry to tell that to you. And that does not mean that I'm a shill for NASA. I think that should also be very, very clear to anyone who's in this class. Thank you very much. What are you doing when you dance flying rainbow lasagna? You are bringing together divergent realities. I know I just totally switched. Wait, back to sun gazing. You can also do an extended sun gazing period, like sun gazing practice or whatever. And I used to do that too sometimes. So it all depends. And the most important thing is to get as much food as you are comfortable with. So if you only have 2 seconds, do a quick 2-second thing. It can be fast like that, or it can be a whole extensive thing. Just like you can eat a bagel on the run, or you can sit down for a whole, whatever, real breakfast with bacon and pancakes. And how many times a day? Like once a day is plenty for me. And I do have high nutritional needs. So once a day should be plenty for you too. It's good to do it every day if you can, but if you don't have it, if you can't do it every day, don't be like, oh, that's it, I'm off the wagon. Like, it's valuable to do it any amount. It's valuable to do it whatever, once a week or once a month. And there are some times in the wintertime when it might be very difficult to do it because there's just not the availability of that solar energy. So, I mean, that's really, really big. I had one friend who's passed on at this point, but she used to be very frustrated, like that she didn't have access more to her psychic powers. She thought it was something personal. It's like her car wouldn't go and she took it personally. And I was always like, no, like you just need gas in your car to make it go. So all of this is really about also cosmic rhythms too, whether it's the right time. Sometimes you want to, or your ego wants to book time on the telescope, but it's like surfing. Like weather conditions might have other ideas. So you might have to wait until conditions are optimal for you to ask your questions or have your insights or do what you want to do. So don't be too me, egotistical about it, even though it's good to advocate for what you want. Sometimes you also got to understand your inner context. All right, so good. Okay. I think I'm getting everybody's questions. Pedro says, so when we verbalize our thoughts, it's like a motor making noise. It's creating friction. Yes, exactly. Thank you for that reminder. A perfectly smooth running mind is silent. And that means that there's no verbalization. It's the truth, guys. Like, I can make it through my day very, very easily. Like, I don't need to verbalize to myself, like, okay, now pour the coffee in the coffee mug. Like, you don't need a narrator. You can do this stuff without verbalization. What I do find is that there are all of these intrusions that are not thoughts that emanate and originate from inside of me. So yes, our motor was intentionally put out of tune. Just like guys with the loud Harley Davidson vroom vroom motorcycles, they make their pipes loud on purpose for social and cultural reasons. But you can tell them that their engines are inefficient, and it's true, because they're, instead of converting all of that energy into actual motion, they're converting it into sound. So yeah, if your mind was a perfect frictionless perpetual motion machine, it wouldn't convert any of its motion into sound. You wouldn't have any verbalized thought. You would be in your true mind state, and this is what we all work to attain again. And it's crucial to practice doing that. Okay, Rainbow's asking me a good question. I hope it's not private. I don't think it's private. How to unzip our DNA. Your DNA is getting unzipped all the time, just as part of your normal DNA bopping around. And that was from class last week. Hold on, let me drink more. Yes, your DNA, as part of its natural process of replication via RNA messenger, occasionally gets unzipped. And that is normal and healthy and good. And you can't do it with all of your DNA, because if you did, you'd just be a pile of goo, possibly twitching, possibly immobile. If you want to be more than a pile of twitching or immobile goo, you only unzip some of your DNA at a time, or you use the flying rainbow lasagna as a placeholder in your DNA, because being unzipped is like living in a state of quantum indeterminacy. It's like, is the electron here? Is the electron here? I don't know. It's somewhere. It's in a state of quantum indeterminacy. So if you get unzipped, it's like, what events of reality are you experiencing? Are you here or are you here? Are you here or are you here? We don't know. And you can only deal with a certain amount of indeterminacy before you collapse in on yourself, unless you have a higher dimensional substructure to hold you in shape, and that's the flying rainbow lasagna. Boom, really good. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, David. Pedro says, when we FRL the cells, do we make one FRL for all or one for every cell? Good question. So I would recommend that you envision one of these flying rainbow lasagna shapes around your entire epidermis, and that knowing that that trickles down to one of these on every cellular level. Like, if you could imagine every single one of your cells, let's draw it. Let's draw it. Time to talk with pictures. Talk with pictures. One individual cell. Wait, first let's draw. Here's you, my very elegant stick figures. Imagine the flying rainbow lasagna on a macroscopic level around the entire human. The answer is yes. Here's one big, giant macroscopic lasagna. But also understand that each one of your cells, so here's a bunch of cell membranes inside of your actual body. And here's all of your little nuclei, and all of your little nuclei have to raise to infinity there. So maybe I should make like little figure eights in there. All of those little guys do flying rainbow lasagna. So they start to get shaped like lasagnas. Here, making crazy lasagnas here. And this one becomes lasagna like this. And they can be lasagnas at various different complementary angles. And they all are lasagnas. So these guys are the magnification of what is happening in here on a subcellular level. You don't have to imagine everything down to that tiny scale if you cannot, because that takes a lot of RAM or processing power. And as you're beginning to develop this, instead of spending so much time counting, like if you're like playing instrument and a music teacher and teaching you like tap your foot and count 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of like all that focusing on that counting, I want you to feel the groove. So understand, in this presentation, I'm teaching you all about counting and how this works and how all of these mechanics fit together. But when you're actually doing it, I want you to let all of that go and feel the groove. Don't feel frustrated with me for saying that. Food for the intellect matters because the intellect has all these questions. And I think it's crucial to tell the intellect, this is possible, this is why it's possible, this is what is going on. But then tell the intellect, like, now go sit down and now it's time to prove. Okay, so we will get to all this because it's about doing a magical activity. Like I was saying before in my mini non-rant, like it is not cool for, okay, that's what I really wanted to start off this whole presentation with. How do you do a magical activity? Like you got to set up your life to foster magic. That it's actually very, very challenging to be like, well, you know, I'm on hold on the phone with the bank. Like I'm calling up the bank, I'm doing the phone prompts, and while I'm on hold with the bank, how about I just do the flying rainbow lasagna for 5 minutes? It ain't like that. It ain't the type of thing that you can fit in 5 minutes in between your other busy chores of your busy daily life. It is about achieving a different mental state. So it is very unfair to think to yourself, oh yes, I'm going to do all of these things with my mind, and then I'm going to stop, and for 5 seconds, I'm just going to automatically transition into now I'm going to do something magical, and now I'm going to do something magical. Like, I think that is very unfair to think that way of yourself, and that is exploitive. So my whole entire day is geared for magic. My whole entire day is geared up to foster this magical activity. And I was saying before how a non-ideal my previous living space was, because I would be trying to foster the energy to do this magical activity, and I would have someone else, you know, interrupting me to like go in and use the bathroom or something like that. And so you got to set things up in a way that is like fiercely protective of your lasagna time and space. Be like, I am doing this magical activity now, like F off, like get away from me so that I can do this thing. Because I'm telling you, it's almost like when people smell bacon or whatever, like they smell something cooking, they like gravitate. They gravitate on it. They're like, something smells good. When you start to get energy to do your flying rainbow lasagna, you're starting to get super excited. You're starting to vibrate out of reality. You know, lots of chumps come along and they're like, oh, you've got lots of energy. I want some. I'm telling you, like, you will get phone calls. Turn off the ringer of your phone. When you are getting ready to do flying rainbow lasagna, turn off the freaking ringer of your phone, and turn off all of your emails, and turn off all of your everything else, because I'm telling you, like, not only can people have some kind of a sense that you're about to do this magical thing, but like the biggest losers are the people that try to contact you. So you're not getting called by the best people who are like on, you know, like rising up with you, who are like, woohoo, lasagna. You're not getting called by those people. You're getting called by like the worst people. And so for me, it's almost always, whatever, telemarketers or people that aren't, like, wrong numbers aren't even for me. They're just stupid interruptions. So literally, turn off the ringer for your phone, because it ain't going to take that long. Like, you're going to flying rainbow lasagna for whatever, an hour at the most. Most emergencies can wait a little bit. It's about going into a different mind state. Just like if you're going to do lucid dreaming successfully at night has a lot to do with what you do with yourself and your mind during the day. So if you have, oh, hold on a second. Let me just make sure everybody's muted. There we go. If you have a super, super stressful, busy day and tons of traumatic or, you know, emotional experiences, and you have no chance to process any of that during your day, like you don't have a moment to yourself, and then you like lie down in bed and close your eyes, like those are not optimum moments, conditions for lucid dreaming. Like, you know, if you want to do lucid dreaming, like you have to do like meditation during the day, and you have to process your emotions, take time for yourself, take time to have perspective, take time to, you know, be introspective, and then be able to introspect and watch yourself as you do lucid dreaming. I'm totally not an expert on lucid dreaming, but I'm trying to say that your daytime waking mind affects your nighttime dreaming mind, and then vice versa. So it's the same thing. You're moving mind states here. How do you move mind states? It ain't easy. How does the electron make its jump from one shell to the other? It ain't easy. So it's even harder when your landlord is knocking on your door. Try to set up your existence in such a way so that you have some protective space while you're trying to do this magical activity. So you're also you got to have protected physical space and mental space and time. And also part of the practice is to do the Merkaba. To briefly show you this, we haven't done this yet in level 1, but I have this picture set up for us. What is the Merkaba? It is the envisionment of a star tetrahedron energy force field around your physical body that counter-rotates and is like an energy immune system. So Merkaba is part of my practice of doing the flying rainbow lasagna, but the two are not exactly the same. So again, I'm giving you an intellectual explanation of what is happening when you lasagna in today's class. We need to learn about Merkabah, we need to learn about how to do sun gazing, and then you're ready to put it all together and actually play the Flying Rainbow Lasagna Symphony, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. So each one of those orientations of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, here look, the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is now jumping at this orientation on a subcellular level, and also my hand is moving, okay? Both things are moving, and my Flying Rainbow Lasagnas can also jump this way. But I can have some of my cells keep the beat going like this. Oh, but then I can have some of my cells doing the in and out. And then I can have some of my cells doing the end over end. And you can combine these movements together also into types of chords. So what if I do an up, a side, a half flip, a reverse flip, and an in out? That's like a chord. I took elements from each one of those. So we're talking about like the 4 amino acids of DNA. Those are like 4 notes of a chord. And we're talking about all of the different possible combinations that you can make with those 4 notes, and all the different possible melodies you could play with those 4 notes. When you Flying Rainbow Lasagna, you then add in greater variables. So if you initially could have done like whatever 64 possible codons, when you add in Flying Rainbow Lasagna, maybe now you can have a billion possible melodies put together with your DNA, or an uncountable number because it becomes so unexpected. This is what confounds the crappy poopy AI that does not run on OS Love and that runs very well on predictability. When you start doing these levels of greater and greater variables and unpredictability, you confound the AI, and it gets more. Because let's say reality is like a song. The song's playing, or a computer program that's running. You do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna once, and that is like shaking up the salad dressing of reality. Just doing it once, boom, reality just changed. What if you do it every day? What if you wake up in the morning and you drink a cup of coffee and you do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna every day? That's like shaking up the salad dressing of reality all the time. You become living in a world that is extremely fluid with events that are very unpredictable. And this is completely, the AI is like pooping out bricks of microchips. It doesn't know what it's going to do with itself in light of this. Definitely the system of control breaks down in light of this. This is why I teach this to everyone. I want to have as many nodes of unpredictability and creativity as possible working within this system to bring forth greater levels of potential, like what can happen in your personal life, what can happen in society at large. And also, this is a new song, and what we play in terms of this music here, we play with our bodies. This song can emanate to other places, other planets or places can do covers of our song, which is basically the song of freedom, the song of how to get rid of a bunch of crappy parasites when they come to your planet and rape your planet and stick themselves inside of your genetic code. That's this song, how to get rid of parasites. Wait, okay. Yeah, Bob Hope is saying, good to hear there are too many wild cards in the human family. Good, strong notion to counter the AI fear crapola. Oh yes, definitely. The AI is actually an incredibly weak system. It is actually not a strong system at all. And it's been in existence for a long amount of time, but that doesn't mean that it's like well built or whatever. It just has been in existence for a long amount of time. And newsflash, now is when it gets to no longer be in existence. And it really redefines existence itself to get rid of this crapola. Cheryl, good to see you, says, I love that animation. Would it be possible for me to have a copy of it so I can stare at it during meditation? Yes, absolutely. I will make it available to you via Dropbox. Bob Hope says, so are we reprogramming this joint from the inside? Yes, thank you for your cogent insight. That is evident in your question. That is exactly what we are doing. That is exactly what I am doing. So this is like a hacked computer world, computer program. And I existed, Aurora, outside of time, outside of this computer program, not submerged in time. And I saw the FRE, keeping it family friendly, that was going on here, and said, yeah, none of that is the way that it's supposed to be. But in order to be powerful, in order to make a rectification, to change and fix and heal things, I had to actually get an instrument. actually get a body. This is the challenge. You say like, hey, where are the good guys? If the good guys are in existence, they got to find some way to get here because it ain't easy to get here. So I had to invent a car to get here. And the car is called the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So this allows me, Aurora, to enter into physical human body and play my genetic music outward to all of you. My genetic music includes the recipe for lasagna. I know I get very silly about this, but this is really real stuff. And you can hear and feel and perceive this recipe and, you know, my truthfulness talking to you from the inside, from your genes. And it's a very different experience than the talking that you hear from your verbalized conscious mind. So real telepathy is done on a bridge of love. The real rapport between musicians is done on a bridge of love. It is nonverbal. So the information and the energy and the consciousness that I send out is all nonverbal. As opposed to synthetic telepathy crapola, which is what we get from smart meters and smartphones and voice 2K, Wi-Fi crapola, and that all of that says like, this is James Earl Jones, I am your God, you know, like someone pretending to be God. That ain't really God, because God talks to you on an inner genetic level. And I'm talking about information from the sun and the stars that comes through the portal of Flying Rainbow Lasagna, the doorway that is inside of my DNA. And then I broadcast that to all of you. And then you guys become Flying Rainbow Lasagna, like kombucha scobies. Yeah, you're scobies. And then you become kombuchas, changing and transforming reality. So what happens when you start to do this Flying Rainbow Lasagna? First of all, what am I doing? When I do it at this point, it is not unconscious, it is supraconscious. Like the higher levels of consciousness are dictating the patterns that I'm doing, but I'm dancing in complex patterns. So first of all, what I do is I utilize my physical body as my instrument. I play not only with my hands, but also with my feet. And I've done a lot of work, like in this world, people mostly wear shoes and mostly feet are very constricted and stunted and congested. Like most people cannot move their toes individually the way that you can move your fingers individually. And most people cannot, you know, bend and flex their toes. But that's a big part of what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. You're flying the starship of your body, and you're also using, you could imagine using your feet as part of like playing an apparatus, like playing an instrument. So this, you know, this starship, it's not just some crappy starship where you're just like, you know, press a button, stand very stiffly. It's not like that. In order for the starship to respond, like you got to have the groove. That's what I'm saying. Like focus on the groove. And so there are 5 points of contact in doing this, you know, flying of your starship. So you've got your 2 feet, your 2 hands, and your head or your face. And that is how I integrate into my starship, which is my body, okay? And I'm using both the energy centers or chakras of my body and my physical cellular structure to do this dance. So let's say they're like, we're gonna tie your arms together like this with duct tape and you can't move your arms. Well, I can Flying Rainbow Lasagna. Anyway, I'm sorry to be so silly. Yeah, I can vibrate on a subcellular level. That's the whole point. Even if I never move my hands physically, even if I never move my feet physically, I would be able to do this. And there's one lovely participant of this class, Karine. I don't know if she's tuned in today. She has limited internet access at this point. She does her Flying Rainbow Lasagna meditations seated and still. She does not move her arms around a lot. People who've seen me do it, they know that I move my arms and legs around a lot. And I jump in and out of my body. So that's part of also mastering the star tetrahedron for not only energetic immune system, but for interdimensional travel. So that's part of what we're moving up to. And Bob Hope's question about reprogramming this joint from the inside. It's very similar to, there was like a exploration of hacking computers that can do genetic code reading. So the people that were the hackers, they said, wait, what if we put a computer program that's hack into the format of DNA and had that be analyzed by the sequencer that is the machine. So the sequencer that's the machine analyzed DNA that had the hack in it, and then the machine got hacked. So I think that is an analogy for what we are doing here as lasagna waveforms in this reality. I think that what we are doing is creating new entry points, like new foldings and twistings of the fabric of reality that make it possible for new possibilities, ideas, energy to happen that wouldn't have been able to happen otherwise. And I think that the badass aspect of it is that you can only do it by actually embodying it. It's not like you can say, I'm going to stand here and wave my magic wand and poof, make that happen down there. You got to get a body and actually get some DNA and actually vibrate some strings in order to do this level of reprogramming. So my hat is off to anyone and everyone, all of my colleagues that are here with bodies, all of you trying to reprogram and make this place rectify everything that is here in reality. Rainbow has a good question. Does stargazing work also? Yes, it does, but the signal is not as loud. So you got to have really, really good, a really long tendril because it's not as nearby. So there's different talents. So telepathy, there's sending and receiving, and you can send near and you can send far, and not everybody can do everything. Just like in track and field, there's throwing a javelin and throwing a shot put and doing the 100-yard dash, and also whatever, doing the high jump, and not everybody can do everything very well. So in terms of telepathic conversation, to be able to do stargazing, you have to have really good focus and be able to connect really far. And not everybody has that. So if you have that capacity, that's fantastic. But if not, then do sun gazing, do whatever works. Jackie says, sun gazing between chemtrail sessions is depressing when chem clouds linger for days on end. I completely agree. I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. We get plenty of chem crapola in our skies too. And that is the whole intention behind the chemtrail crapola. It is not merely blocking out the optical rays, it is also blocking out the nourishment that comes from connecting to the sun. And it is very diminishing of everything, plants and animals, everything. I don't know about selenite. Good question, Rainbow. Pedro says, try putting a Merkaba on the chemtrail, on the air between you and the chemtrail, and on you before sun gazing. I like that. I think you could also Merkaba the situation of chemtrails themselves, so that if chemtrails are being emitted, you will, inevitably reach your levels of consciousness and nutrition anyway, even though they might be emitted in the sky. Like you can put some kind of rider, like some kind of legal language on there. I think you can do that. But I would much rather see no more pollution being sprayed in the sky, and I would consider that to be a very wonderful day. And let me just reiterate, no, President Trump has not made chemtrails vitamins now. They are not your friend. They're never your friend. Cheryl says, and Eureka, the sun disappears behind the fog in November and doesn't show up again until April. My darling, I used to live very close to you, and that is why I now live in sunny California, because it was a huge challenge to be able to do my sun gazing practices up in very cloudy, rainy Humboldt. Seriously, it's a challenge. Angel says, was your suffering due to hacking the hijacked incarnation system of this planet? Was there fine print attempting to be inserted into your soul contracts, if you have any? I.e., did they attempt to get you to forget who you are and make you be stuck in reincarnation? No, thank you for your questions. The suffering was due to the death, literal murdering death via horrible torture of the person that used to be in this body. That what they were trying to do was to do a negative walk-in or like a takeover of this body. And I said, no, I would definitely not participate in that, and that is not acceptable, and that is not allowed to happen. And instead of, dying, which is mostly what would happen, flying rainbow lasagna occurred. But all of those events, that's my rather blithe, glossing over and description of what was really a horrible war, the worst type of experience, like a war or a firebombing or a car accident, like some really horrible thing. So it was not that they tried to get me to forget that I'm Aurora. That information is really pristine, that stays with me. That perspective stays with me. It was more in the destruction of this body, that they burned out a lot of the body. They just were zap. Just imagine just zap. They zapped this brain a lot just in order to destroy it. And that's what that was from. And it wasn't just about the personal, murder of one person, not just the unfairness of one person's loss of life. It's the also, ripples coming outward from that of everything else that was unfair about that. And so many other aspects of the cosmic battle that were going on. That I'm just rereading your question. So it's, and something, when I did this, Flying Rainbow Lasagna, it does not come into conflict with any of the established cosmic rules, rules of incarnation, or anything like that. Like, that's really big. I'm not here as some kind of body snatcher or rule breaker. And I've had to learn that there are people that are negative walk-ins, body snatchers, beings who use the form of technology to artificially force themselves into bodies. That was not my experience at all. And that's a huge distinction to make. Just like I can say to you with truthfulness, with integrity, I actually huffed and puffed up the mountain. I didn't drink a magic elixir. I see all of my stuff because I see all of my stuff, not because I took the mushroom or something like that. Same thing with lasagna. Like, the impetus for me to create this, was spontaneous and arose from within. Like, none of this was because I took a substance or I didn't hallucinate it. I'm having trouble putting it into words, but I hope that my energy comes across here, that this was like a necessary thing that had to happen, that it had to be innovated in the moment. Something had to happen, and I had to do something. And this was the thing that I had to do. And I apologize if my words don't get across what this is. So that the moment that I'm talking about, it's actually an eternal, ongoing moment. It actually doesn't end. It's actually still going on. When you guys all get your higher dimensional vision online, you'll be able to see it. It's like your whole life script is like a continually unfolding movie, like a movie that's always running on a loop. And you can look at anyone and see their whole life movie running on a loop. So I know that you'll be able to perceive what was going on with me in that time. There's a big giant battle that's going on. The person who used to be in this body was part of that battle. Me, Aurora, external to this body, was part of that battle. And me coming into this body by creating this flying lasagna portal is also part of that battle. And my entire 18-year existence here has been part of that battle. Like, there's a lot of heavily entrenched malevolent aliens that are part of the economy, political, and social structure here that hate me. They hate my guts. They hate lasagna. And they have extensive meetings about what are we going to do about this pesky lasagna that's messing up all of our plans. Because, yeah, it's messing up their plans for world domination, and nothing is going in its predictability patterns anymore. They don't know what the F to do. So they hate me, and they hate, if you try to do this to them, they hate you too. I'm sorry to tell you that. But F them, do it anyway. David says, before completing an FRL meditation session, I've been instructing the FRL to continue doing DNA repair in the background until I consciously reactivate it the next time. Any thoughts about that? Really good. I like that a lot. So that's like saying, if I do a workout, like I might do some running, or do some of the elliptical treadmill type of machine. And for, 20 or 45 minutes, you elevate your metabolism. You're burning more than you would when you're at rest. Even when you hop off the machine, and you're just sitting at rest, you've raised your daily metabolism. And that is how flying rainbow lasagna functions. So it functions on the one hand, like a bringing together of things that were divergent. It functions on another level of like a dance partnership with reality, creating events in reality. And yes, it is possible for you to like create a momentum that then continues onward even when you're no longer consciously engaged in it. That's how I do my day. I do like flying rainbow lasagna dance, and then now let's go paint a painting. And even while I'm painting the painting, my metabolism is still lasagnaing. So David is saying that he has set up, running in the background of his body, this intention for DNA repair. And I think that is that's a good program to run. That's good. That's worthy of using your energy for. So I would say set that up. That's really good. And that it's also important, like you say, to be in control of your programs so that they don't run amok. You say, do blah, blah, blah until I say otherwise, or until I stop, or until next Tuesday. Like, it's important to put these things in. Think of it almost like like having an obedient dog or something. You have to like tell them to stay, sit, stay. And then you got to tell them when they can get up again, because otherwise they're just going to be like waiting there the whole time. So be sure that you are in control of your creation. But yes, I think that's a very excellent and apt way of using flying rainbow lasagna. Flying rainbow lasagna, I want to just get more into this, is also a bringing together of formerly divergent realms, including the realms of spirit and matter, or spirit you can also call pure energy or pure consciousness. So this is very, very real. I'm talking about this in the sense of you're doing this dance with singularity. What's the end result of it? The end result of it is a new form of matter. spirit matter, matter that is not just stupid matter. Like, this is just stupid dead matter. It ain't nothing. No, it's something. It is matter, and it's imbued with consciousness. That's the state of matter when we fly rainbow lasagna. So when you do this with your DNA, you're embodying a new mental state. That's magical. It ain't easy. Tell them to stop knocking on your door. Like, just trying to do some magic in here. Give me 5 freaking minutes embodying a new magical state. And when you embody that new magical state with your DNA, matter responds differently. Matter responds differently when you have a different mind. Mind and observership is absolutely connected to matter. And everybody's all like, you're stupid. Like, we got political problems. We need to, like, raise pitchforks and torches and do stuff, and you don't just gaze at your neighbor. I'm like, you can control matter by doing this. Get to be a virtuoso. You can control matter by doing this. That's what I'm encouraging everyone. Actually climb the mountain. You don't drink a magic elixir and do this from an immature state. Actually climb the mountain and affect reality directly. You can write the script of reality, and you can directly affect matter, beginning with your own body and then branching outward to things like lip glosses. Here's an example. What would it look like if you could have matter respond directly to your mind? You could either say, hey, I love this flavor of lip gloss. I wish I had 10 of them. And all of a sudden you have 10 of them. Or what more likely is happening in your world already is you're like, where's my lip gloss? I thought I had it here. I know I have it here. I have 10 million of them. Why are they always hopping out of reality? How come I can never find them? And then you find your lip gloss in the most unlikely place, but it somehow is magically there. And what a lot of people are experiencing in these anomalies of placement of objects, and also of some things like a Mandela effect. But let's just tread lightly on that whole phraseology. But let's say displacement of objects. Like, I knew I had this here, but now it's not here, but now it's here again. All of that is matter responding to consciousness. And this is what we begin to do on a much more intentional and virtuoso level when we begin to flying rainbow lasagna. So what's my practice like? I started with very simple things, like a flying rainbow lasagna with the sun, me and the sun, me and the sun, me and the sun, me and the stars, me and a redwood tree, me and a butterfly, me and a bunch of microbes. And then I'm like, well, that's like if I learned this, but then I also learned this, but then I also learned this. But what if I put them all together? I'm sorry, I'm making crazy music, but you understand. What if I start the flying rainbow lasagna with the microbes and the bird and the butterfly and the humans? Humans are hard to fly rainbow lasagna with because they're all like skeptical. They're like, who are you? What do you want? Are you trying to take me over? Like, I understand all these things. Like, I'm just trying to fly rainbow lasagna with you. So I'm grooving and sending out a waveform to you, and then you can also send out a waveform to me. So this is a transmutation, a restructuring of reality. This is a mutual, consensual restructuring of reality. And when I say those words, I'm talking about all of the organisms here doing this. It's not just humans, because I know there's a lot of human hubris. Like, humans are smarter than everyone else in nature, even though dolphins' brains are more convoluted, even though elephants have greater volume and weight to their brains. But humans are the smartest animal around here, right? And then it turns out it's actually mice that run the joint. Like, that's from that silly movie that I like. But no, humans need to learn to integrate with nature. And that was part of the rant earlier from today, where I was saying, yeah, if you look at your hands and you say, like, why am I in this stupid body? And why do my hands look so much like a leaf on a plant? Like there's problems there, because you're supposed to be like, oh, yes, my body is a natural outgrowth of this planet that I find myself on. And of course, I look exactly like the fronds of a fern, or, the veins of a plant. Like, of course, I look exactly like my environment. I'm from here. I'm part of this place. And then, my experience is different. Like, I'm a visitor. I still speak with an accent. It's just like if you move to France, be like, yeah, we can tell you're not from around here. I'm not from around here, but I love this place and I love my body. And, I find it beautiful to be here. So yeah, I have a great deal of respect and appreciation for this body and for this place. And yeah, it's not my intention to be like disposable body either. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm just here for 5 minutes, then I'm going to totally crash the car and then just jump on out and then go to a different body. No, that is not what I'm doing. That's not what anybody is allowed to do. That's a horrible thing to do, even though it happens. No, I'm actually remodeling this body with the flying rainbow lasagna. So here's more stuff, got more meat and potatoes. This is the transformative dance. You don't have to be a perfect person or have a perfect body to do this dance. my body initially had a lot of neurological damage. And that meant that signals could not get from point A to point B. A lot of mind states were not possible. Like there was a lot of disruption. And I have been able to jump up and over the disruption by doing flying rainbow lasagna. I've been able to do all of these things that would have been considered the definition of impossible. So flying rainbow lasagna means you get the opportunity to do what might have been defined as impossible from a certain limited viewpoint of reality. So as we start to do these things that once were impossible and now become possible, we stretch the boundaries of reality, we redefine what reality is. So A, you used to not have this in your body, but now you have this in your body, you're stretching the bonds of reality, then maybe it ain't that unbelievable to say, hey, maybe your lip gloss can pop into reality. And maybe you can bring 10 more exactly like it because you like it so much. Like maybe that ain't so crazy or unreasonable to think that things like that can happen. So once you begin to see these little seeds of impossibility sprouting, you say, wait, that seed of impossibility can sprout, then others can sprout too. And you see it happening for other people. You're like, well, that guy planted a seed of unlikelihood and it sprouted into the most lovely unlikelihood bush. Maybe I could plant a seed of unlikelihood too, and it could happen for me. So this is the way that this new experience of reality, where with matter responding directly to consciousness, is the way that it's built. So again, I didn't want this to be something that is just a magical unfoldment, just personal for me. Like I get to embody the flying rainbow lasagna, and then I get to have a magical unfoldment and all of the coming together of spirit and matter and everything like that, and everyone else sits on their couch eating potato chips, like feeling like horrible grumpy lumps. I did not want that. I wanted everybody to have the opportunity to do this if they wanted to. But you got to climb the mountain on your own power. You can't do some kind of artificial whatever elixir to artificially propel you. It has to be done under your own power, because the journey of gaining these lasagna muscles refines your motivation and what you want to be doing. So it's like, let's say you're like, Aurora, I want to be a painter. I'm like, good, you can be a painter. In 18 years, you have to earn your paintbrush. And I'm just joking about the 18 years thing. But let's say I had an extensive long amount of time. First, I want you to do this. Like first, I want you to go to a botanical garden and look at every single flower before you even earn a paintbrush. Then I want you to go here and do this. And you would have all these different assignments. And then you finally earn your paintbrush and you earn your charcoal. You could finally get going and stuff. I mean, I don't want to sound like very strict or whatever, but I want you to understand, like, yes, probably from the state, from like the unformed state of being unhealed, from the state of being unhealed, like, yeah, you want to get better before you start manifesting reality. So as you start, but everyone's gonna be like, but Aurora, I have bumps and bruises. I'm not ready to lasagna. I'm only going to lasagna my traumas. Don't panic. I don't keep this a secret. This is free range or open source or whatever for you, and even for the most profound evil people. Because when you are exposed to this, what happens is you get more truth. This is the basic understanding of this. When you're exposed to this idea, you get more connected to the sun and the stellar network. You get more light, you get more truth. That's a good thing, that on anybody's level, even if you're an evil person, you get more truth. It is good. Like you learn more about, the iniquity of your own behavior. It's good. Get more truth. And the more that you start to do flying rainbow lasagna, the more that your circuitry clears out. Circuitry is in quotes, of course. The more that you get healed. So you don't have to have a perfect body to start with, is the whole thing. I'm not trying to say, well, first you have to do yoga and master the back bend. And then once you can do that with your physical body, then you get to do it with your non-physical body. No, you can have a broken, diseased, not physical body. You can have a broken or diseased physical body, and you can still do the flying rainbow lasagna. And doing this genetic oscillation and reality transformation, maneuver transforms your physical body, brings you into greater states of health that would be considered highly unlikely or impossible according to medicine and science that we presently know it on Earth. And the more people that do this, the more that it becomes a normal thing. That used to be not normal or unbelievable back in the old days when people only believed in their five senses. Now that is normal. So just be prepared for things like that. Wait, let me get to questions too. Rainbow Body says, yeah. Okay, Rainbow Body, I will get to more concrete instructions about the Merkaba. That's actually for a couple of weeks from now. Angel said, I've heard that first ray of sunlight is the most important, and you can do sun gazing for those first few minutes of the day with your eyes open. Yes, so in the first few minutes or last few minutes of the day, the sun is at a very low angle, and the light waves are filtered through more layers of the atmosphere, so fewer physical light waves are reaching your eyes, so you have less of the likelihood of burning out your retina. But still, please don't burn out your retina. Because look, guys, like I have achieved all the things that I've achieved without burning out my retina. And it's not this spiritual ego type of thing where you have to see how many seconds can you stare at the sun? 7? Well, my guru can stare at for 12 seconds. So he's a better guru than you. And if you can only stare for 1 second, then you're not a very spiritually advanced person. Like I don't want anybody to play those games, and definitely not with your eyesight. So yeah, the way that I do my, and we were not even on lesson 13 about sun gazing, but I'll tell you, when I do my sun gazing, I always do it with a big giant hat, and I use the brim, or under an awning, or squinting my eyelashes, or using the curtains or something like that. Like it's always filtered. I live in California. It's like the definition of a hot oven. There is literally a blazing hot torch in the sky. Like you cannot stare directly at the sun. David says, what are some of your favorite recording artists when you FRL? Thank you for asking. I have a wide-ranging musical taste. So I actually have some dance playlists on YouTube. So, like I'm acculturated. Like I've been here on this planet for long enough to like know your music, and I've actually intentionally studied earth music and found the things that I like. So I like to dance the FRL to rock and roll, but it's like to certain rock and roll. Like I really like Led Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love. I really like Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child, and Manic Depression. I like some of the Who, like there's Eminence Front and a couple of others. I like some of the prog rock, like Rush, Tom Sawyer. And so the reason why I'm kind of like, tempo really matters. So the prog rock and some of these other rockers, like they've got some pretty fast songs. And, like I think that really helps. So the energy, the motivation, I get that from sun gazing, I get that from excellent nutrition. I don't have my raw cannabis juice. I already drank it, but I drink raw cannabis juice. So, whatever supplements you take to like, whatever you would do pre-workout, like that. Oh my God, like I didn't even talk about that. How do you do flying lasagna? Before you jump into a higher dimensional existence, you're going to need a good solid breakfast. Like, oh my God, it takes a lot of food energy. I know my body is slender. I eat a lot of calories and a lot of food energy. So I'm actually hungry right now. So I make like all sorts of really good things. Like I make almond cookies or whatever. I eat beef jerky, nutrient dense stuff. So, and also before I usually eat a low carbohydrate, but before I do flying rainbow lasagna, this is like running a marathon. That is when you want to eat your carbs. So you got to have freely available, if you're going to drink a fruit drink or have some fruit or have maple syrup cookie or whatever, that's what you do pre-workout. And then you have lots of energy ready for the dance. And then after I finish the dance, I always ground with protein. So then it's always like, whew, like that was good. That was a great workout. Thank you for dancing with me, everyone in the cosmos. I'm going to go make some scrambled eggs. So like, I need something like solid, after all of that. Because literally, so, and the, doing flying rainbow lasagna is getting into a different dimensional mind state. That's why I say you don't just do it while you're waiting on the phone prompt with the hardware store to get back to you at Home Depot. You cannot do the flying rainbow lasagna while you are just waiting on hold with Home Depot. You have to set aside time. You have to take a running jump. You have to respect time and that you're doing something that is magical and unlikely. And you have to believe in yourself that you can do this. You have to give yourself all this excellent nutrition, excellent sun gazing. And then yes, I, put on music that I absolutely love. And I have some songs that I love. Like I love that song, Canned Heat. It's from Napoleon Dynamite. Like these sometimes songs, it's not just their beat or their rhythm. It's also about some affiliation that you might have. Like they make you feel like dancing. They make you feel, or whatever. I was at a party and I heard this song, and now when I hear that song, I feel like dancing. Like music is a real energy. That's just like a food, and you have to eat it with your ears. So I eat music with my ears all the time. I encourage you to as well. And for lasagna, for the dancing, I find that music is essential. And I usually do it with headphones on, like good, high quality headphones, so that you really feel like the music is surrounding your head. Because also, like, don't get kicked out of where you live because you play your music so loud because you got a lasagna. Like, you got to, that's the whole point. You got to integrate with the other organisms on this planet. You're allowed to be here. You're allowed to have your instrument. You're allowed to play your music and emanate your waves, but not in a way that reduces other people's freedom. So that is pretty big. So I have always had to integrate me doing my lasagna dances, but I'm not going to like play it on my speakers at, volume 11 for everybody in the whole neighborhood to hear. So that's it. Mitigate your lasagna so that you are a good neighbor to the people, because everybody's got it. You got to respect boundaries, but also understand that you're affecting your neighbors anyway. So when I lived in Woodstock, now I live in a beautiful, lovely neighborhood here and have lovely neighbors. But when I lived in Woodstock, I lived in an apartment, like there are lots of weird apartments in Woodstock. And when I first moved in, my neighbors were like not the best neighbors. Like they were loud and they left like lots of bags of trash or whatever. But I just kept lasagnaing, and all of the loud trash neighbors moved out, and then cool artist neighbors moved in. So that is what happened. And I didn't say I'm lasagnaing against you. I am fighting against you. I'm lasagnaing you in the face. It wasn't like that at all. When you lasagna, you just keep your energy field together. That is it. And you know what it's like when I walk with my little dog, right? We're walking, she's a little tiny dog, and sometimes you walk past a really big dog on the street. You know what? I give her the command, mind your business. Mind your business. You don't need to be talking to or looking at that over there. Mind your business. So that's it. Mind your business. Do your flying rainbow lasagna, knowing that you're affecting reality. That's the whole point. You're like, I am doing a magical activity right now. I am affecting reality. You don't have to punch anybody in the face. You don't have to, be overt or aggressive. All that you have to do is do your dance. And I hope that the truth came through in my words of this, because I hope I don't seem contradictory. Like I'm telling you this, but then I'm also telling you this. It's not a dance against anyone, but understand that you are affecting your neighbors and your environment by being yourself and doing your dance, and that you're allowed to do it and you're encouraged to do it. You're affecting reality. And you're supposed to affect reality. That you are here to affect reality. So what I would say in terms of choosing music, choose the songs that speak to you, that have positive evocations, that make you want to dance, that have a good danceable dance beat. And also, sometimes it's good to shake it up, because I don't know if I got into this part yet, lasagna is a cumulative dance. So, every time you do lasagna, you're shaking up the salad dressing of reality. And if you do it several times over and over and over, it's like adding a layer of paint or glaze to traditional oil painting. And you keep on getting more and more and more detail and more richness with every layer that you do. So it's good not to be repetitive. It's not like you have one lasagna dance song. Sometimes I feel like this, but sometimes I feel like this. Also, there's psychic weather. This is a thing. It's a thing. Check the psychic weather report. Is it gonna rain? Is it gonna snow? What's going on up there? Some days are very disrupted in the psychic weather realms. They are not optimum conditions for flight. This is what you need to know for flying rainbow lasagnaing. Don't be so egotistical or such a hard ass that you're like, every morning at 6 a.m. we're getting up and we're flying rainbow lasagnaing, no matter what. It cannot be that way. You have to accommodate the larger contextual weather conditions, just like if you were a sailor and on a vessel with a sail, and you had to say, hey, is it safe for me to go out today? Am I going to make it to my destination safely and then return back home safely? Because every time you do flying rainbow lasagna, you are rearranging reality. You're opening a giant can of worms. It's like going surfing or any kind of moderately dangerous activity, surfing or gymnastics. Don't do it if you're not at the top of your game, if you're not prepared to take responsibility. Don't try to do a triple backflip if you're feeling slightly tired or have a head cold. Get yourself together and then do this important stuff. So treat lasagna seriously with responsibility, and at the same time, be free and groovy and have a lot of fun while you're doing it. So that's it's just, I don't do surfing at all, but it is something similar to that. The idea that it is a fun, recreational, joyous activity, but involves some physical danger or acrobatics, also involves some accommodation of the larger contextual reality that you're connecting with. So yeah, some days are horrible days for lasagnaing. Sometimes it's like I'm punching through membranes, I'm moving through molasses, oh, this is so hard, I can hardly do this. And some days it is smooth sailing. It's oh, this is so beautiful. All I have to do is flow over here and then flow over here, and this moves so beautifully. So I would say appreciate all of the different weather patterns from clear to stormy, but don't be hubristic or egotistical and think that you have to dance no matter what. You don't have to dance no matter what. Literally, like I said, it would be enough if you just did lasagna once. Once is rearranging reality, but doing it more than once is even better. Doing it every day is fantastic if you can do that. Rainbow is singing to me for my little online concert, "Gotta make way for lasagna superior." And that's from an old David Bowie song where he was talking about, it's from "Oh You Pretty Things." Yeah. Jeffrey, let me read your quote question. Oh, you're asking a good question. I would say the answer is no. And I don't talk about it that much. Like the questions of family, like biological family that's connected to this body. I don't talk about a lot of things on videos for them. If I am unresolved with the family, like I would rather talk about them directly than have them read it in a video or something like that later. So I really don't think that it was like a benefit to them. I think that they are involved on the level of contracts that are ancestral contracts about what would be done with their offspring and their descendants. It's like they're involved in a larger context, but that does not absolve them of personal responsibility. So you're asking like a large question that is unresolved with her biological family. So better for me to resolve it with them directly and then be able to share it with the rest of the world, because it involves a lot of things about lineages and, like I said, contracts or occult contracts that might be from generations ago, from hundreds of years ago, but that still reverberate and trickle down to this generation now. And so, boss is here. Boss is here. I'm a good example of how, curses work. Curses were meant to be broken, and you get to say no thank you to things that were written into your DNA code without your permission. You can read through your code, be like, get rid of that one. Nope, that ain't right. Nope, that ain't right. Nope, that ain't right. Like you can, I'm being lighthearted about it. It's a very difficult topic. When I present my work and I talk about flying with lasagna and I talk about being a walk-in, most people go to that question of the family. They're like, well, how about the family? Like, did they accept you and all these things? It's quagmire. It's a lot to talk about, and a lot is unresolved, even though I'm in a good place with them. Like, I don't want to misrepresent this. I'm in a good place with them, but was out of communication with them for many years. It's taken them a long time to come up to speed and acceptance that I'm Aurora and that, I'm different than them, than their expectations. Oh my goodness, it's so much to try to talk about. And really my intention is to talk about it respectfully and not to cause additional suffering, because it's been my presence in their family has been very disruptive, let's just say it that way. But also it's been, I think, house cleaning that was needed. Much needed house cleaning came as a result of me coming into this body. So that was much needed. There's just so much to talk about in there. Let me move on to the next question. Thank you for asking about that. Bob Hope says, this etheric magic jellyfish that is the FRL, I'm attempting to visualize. Good job, you're doing good. A good description. Does it require formal befriendment in the meditation, or a tuning in intention? Your program is the journey I see. Would you say strong intention can work without mind, I guess, in communicate telepathically without words? Is it a feeling? So you're talking about partnership. When you lasagna with something, do you need to have consent? Do you need to have an energy signature? Do you need to be like, knock, knock, knock? Hey, want to come out and lasagna today? These are awesome questions. Thank you for asking them. So the answer is, you do not need anybody's permission or invitation to lasagna. I do not need anybody's permission or invitation to play this chord. I am simply playing my music. I am playing my music. So when I'm doing my flying rainbow lasagna, even if I'm lasagnaing with the sun, I don't have to be like, hey, like, is this okay with you? Can I do this with you? Hey, tree, can I do this with you? Like, it really is an influencing of something else with your own music. But it should be consensual. They should want to be influenced by your music. But the whole point is, I don't want you to have to walk on eggshells with your pinkies up and say, oh, am I allowed to lasagna you? Am I allowed to influence you? Like, you're here, you got a body, you're allowed to play your music. That's it. All right. Because I sense too much in good people. Too much good people are like, daintily holding up their skirts and saying, oh, am I allowed to do this? Yes, you're allowed to do this. Stop. Because people in my class are not the evil megalomaniacs that are like happy to crash into buildings and do whatever they want to do. I hope that no one takes that reference and like whatever whatever algorithms me out because of what I said that. Like, oh my God, it's always so hard to communicate here. Okay, so back to Bob's question. When you lasagna with someone or with something, you don't have to call them up and ask for permission. You don't have to say, hey, is this okay? You don't have to worry that you're influencing them. You're influencing them. That's it. It is an influence. And what you're doing is you're taking scoops of one thing and scoops of another thing, and you are combining them together. And when you do this, you render boundaries permeable. And if you're like, you know, if you're a demon person, you're watching this video and you're like, oh, good, like that's exactly what I want to do. I want to use this flying your lasagna to rape everyone. I want to take away everybody's boundaries and blah, blah. It's like, that's not what would happen. So rest easy that if an evil person took this technique and they said, oh, I want to use it and subvert it, that what would happen is more truth would flow into them and through them. They'd be like, oh, let me make more evil. But instead, more truth would come into them. Let me make more evil. More truth would come into them. More evil, more truth, more evil, more truth, more truth, more truth. And then eventually what happens is they realize they just got to go to entropy. That's the end result of this. We have energy and entropy, and they realize they have to go to entropy. I'm already at 2 hours. I'm going to go through the rest of the questions and, you know, keep it there. I have 38 messages to get through. It's going to be a long, long upload. But yes, so it's like, Aurora, I'm confused. How can you rectify all these interdimensional ethics? Also with the idea that you're affecting other people, but they might not want you to affect them, but you're allowed to affect them. The government is affecting you even though you don't like it. They're affecting you. They're making you pay taxes even though you don't like it. Lots of people are affecting you in horrible ways that are malevolent ways, not merely unconscious, but intentionally malevolent. They are all affecting you. You allowed to affect them. I know I'm using slang. You are allowed to affect them back. Why are you pulling your punches? Why are you being such a good girl or good boy? Do you think that you're not going to go to heaven if you fight back against them? You're allowed to do. But I say the word fight, and you think, oh, I'm not allowed to punch someone and practice Christian forgiveness. Okay. This is a different type of fight. This is the type of fight like Woody Guthrie had written on his guitar. He said, this apparatus kills fascists. That's what I'm talking about. Like my artwork is how I fight. My music is how I fight. And these peaceful videos is how I fight. So this is what I'm talking about. I don't have to worry so much about the words that are used here. I'm never here to incite violence. I'm a good citizen. Don't label me a terrorist. Jackie says, if I'm understanding this correctly, our earthly reality is controlled by a malevolent AI. Yes, artificial structure. And the only way to manipulate it is through imagination and creative measures. Yes, because the AI has no capacity for imagination. That is absolutely correct. And when you start to use nonverbal telepathy, the AI totally cannot perceive or hack your communications. So only when you are using the flapping of your moving mouth parts, written words, conscious verbalized language structure, then it can hack your thoughts. But if you're in your true mind, which is the flow state without words, then it can't hack your thoughts. So it's doubly confounding to the AI to go nonverbal. It's like falling off the radar. It's like, wait, we don't know what they're talking about. We don't know what they're thinking about. And then also when you stop responding to the verbalized cues in your mind, they ain't controlling your behavior either. Yes, the way that we supersede the AI is through the use of creativity. You say imagination, that's like projection. Like I'm imagining something here and then I'm projecting it into my outer reality. That's part of it, that act of quantum observership. I spoke about that with the lesson on the pineal gland. But also what we're talking about here is creativity, like creative life force energy. Because we, as embodied beings that eat and poop and gotta wash your face and brush your teeth, have life force energy. And artificial intelligence does not. We run OS Love, and it does not. And there's no comparison. There's no substitute for OS Love. It's a really good operating system. Like a lot of people think like, oh no, let's be a transhumanist, get out of my stupid, poopy human body and get into a wonderful, clean cyborg body. And that's going to be so wonderful and so expansive. And I hope you can tell by my body posture and my vocal tone and the look on my face that I'm totally not telling the truth at all. Okay, good. Yes, no, you do not want to get out of your beautiful human body and into horrible, stinky cyborg body, because that body is incredibly limited compared to what you presently have. Jeffrey says, is there an energetic benefit to those immediately in contact with us as practitioners of FRL, such as family, friends, etc.? Yes. When you FRL, you're making a tone, you're playing a music all the time. You want, like, I'm sure everyone has that one friend that's always wearing headphones. It's like, oh, we're just grooving around. They do this, blah, blah. Like, they're bopping around. They're affecting everyone in their environment with their bopping. And of course, society hates the bopping. They're like, stop bopping. You must conform. So yes, you're absolutely affecting the world around you. And just like the world around you can tell when you sit down to do FRL, it's like, oh, telemarketer's going to call, landlord's going to knock, all this, all the inhibitors are going to come up. Same thing, like when you start to get up to euphoric levels of flying rainbow lasagna, all of these inhibitors come along, like physical ones. They like try to drag you down. They try to make you stop doing your exercise, going into like being a marathon runner. You're like, come sit on the couch and eat potato chips with me. They're like, no, I don't want to sit on the couch with you. I want to run, run, run. They're like, no, slow down, slow down. So what I have found is that there ends up being a bifurcation. Like you start going faster in your life, but people who can't deal with what level you're going fast, they like fall by the wayside because they can't deal with how fast you're going. You cannot slow down for anyone else. You can't be like, oh, I know that my increased rate of speed is inconvenient to you, but I'm going to accommodate you and go at a slower genetic speed because it makes you happier. Mommy, daddy, or landlord. You cannot do that, boss. Like, you got to be a flying rainbow lasagna, and you got to understand that that might be inconvenient to the laggards around you that want to go at a slower, more laggardly pace than you want to go at genetically, literally. So I've had a lot of these experiences of, I'm doing my flying rainbow lasagna, the slow moving people around me are not necessarily appreciating it, and then the situation has to be restructured as a result. Cheryl says, so were you the only person that knew the previous occupant actually died? Did her family, doctors, etc., think that she almost died and was brought back to life? What does her family think of Aurora? So yeah, no, she did not receive immediate medical attention. There was no one else around in the experience of dying. So yeah, I'm the only person that knows that it was for real, a real metabolic death. And I contacted her family as soon as I came into this body and was like able to get up and move around, and told them everything that had happened. And I was not taken for medical treatment immediately. And so that's, again, an unresolved issue with her family that probably would be better for me to resolve with them instead of talk about here in a video. But there's seriously a discrepancy between that behavior and, caring and being a family member and parenting. So there's a big disconnect there. And at first, to answer your question about what her family thinks of Aurora, at first, there was total lack of acceptance. So on the one hand, they did not acknowledge the brain injury, and on the other hand, they did not acknowledge the change in personality, but then they had to acknowledge the change in personality, but then they thought that there was just a problem with psychosis or drug use or something like that. It did not recognize and validate what had actually happened, and did not make it possible for me to get medical treatment. And so, yeah, I didn't really get medical treatment until 2005 or so, and I was here for about 4 years during that time. So that was during the time that I did not have access to like corrective lenses for my eyes, or a lot of other things that were really necessary for me to be in this body. There's so much to talk about, and probably better for me to talk about it in a different context. Thank you for that. Okay, so Rainbow Body is working with selenite. That's nice. Thank you, Eleanor, sending the FRL back at me. Scott says, I've noticed certain insects around me holding frequencies. Nature leads the charge. Goat is my co-pilot. That's very, very cute. Yeah, I connect with insects quite a lot. David says, what's the name of your YouTube playlist? I think it is called, let me look, dance music. Oh my God, don't want to tell you the wrong things. I'm sorry to have to fiddle with things while I'm on the line with you here. Hold on a second. It's music. Music for Freedom. Sorry, Music for Freedom. Yeah, but I don't have a lot of stuff like the Led Zeppelin and stuff on there. I have that saved on like an Apple playlist that's on my phone and stuff like that. Cheryl, when you make cannabis juice, do you use only the regular leaves as opposed to the buds? It depends. I had a friend's garden. She had a problem with some of her plants not growing well, and she had torn them out, and she gave me them with like half-formed buds. I juiced the whole thing, and that just made very, very potent juice. So if you have a plant that kind of goes awry, throw the whole thing in. It's definitely worth juicing the buds. But if you have just a beautiful, healthy plant, the best way to use the plant is take the large fan leaves off and juice them the way that you would juice a wheatgrass. can drink some of it fresh, but you can also freeze it in an ice cube tray. And then save the buds. You can either put them in, if you freeze them raw, you can put them into smoothies and maintain the raw, non-psychoactive effects in your body. Or you can also dry them and then turn them into tinctures or something like that. But yes, Matt says tree foliage makes beautiful rainbow light shafts to sun gaze through. That was what I did when I lived in upstate New York, where it was cool and cloudy a lot of the time, and there was a lot of overhead canopy where I could be out in the middle of the day, like 12 noon or 1 p.m., and do sun gazing very easily because I was at a different latitude, much more northern latitude, lots of trees overhead, much more cool and cloudy. So all of those questions about sun gazing depend upon where you live. SJ, good to see you. Says, through my own personal firsthand experience, I can confirm the validity of transforming a broken, diseased body with FRL. Wonderful, excellent. She says, in the darkest times or most painful moments, when we do the FRL, our consciousness opens up to a new dimension, then slowly begins to take form in physical reality. Consistency and an open heart was the first layer to my transformation. My wish is for everyone to know that all healing is possible. SJ, thank you so much for telling us that. That is amazing to hear. First of all, I'm so happy for you that you've had good inner transformation, good healing from this. And also thank you for the inspiration to share that with other people, that it's possible. Like keep going on the journey, because it's absolutely possible. Yeah, someone asked me in an email, and this is a very long email, I think her name is Carla, with lots of questions. I couldn't answer all the questions because I have limited time for, typing everything out. But the big question was like, she said, is it possible for me to FRL? And my answer, have other people done it? Yes, other people have done it. Other participants in this class have successfully done the FRL. So I know that it is possible for others to learn how to do it. And when Sarah Jane tells us about this too, like it's just hugely encouraging. It really tells me that it's like, if you follow the right path, if you do, the right things and continue onward, like you'll find your path, you'll find it, you'll be able to do this thing. It's always been like, not just for me, it's for others. So I'm just really incredibly happy to hear that. I'm happy that you are doing so much better. That is fantastic. Pietro says, lasagna-ing the world in 3, 2, 1, no mortal backflips, just cartwheels and tumbles. I'm so totally ready for that. I have to tell you, like, we need to ditch mundane reality and rewrite the script of something much more fun and interesting. I think a majority of us are clearly ready for this. I've been ready for this like since I first came here. So for me, 18 years, I've been like, guys, like, is it time yet? Yes, it is time. So every day I'm like, time to lasagna, everyone. Like, get out the butts, time to lasagna. Marco says, talking about being tired, last 2 or 3 of your lessons, I got so tired that I fell asleep, even when totally rested right after a good night's sleep. I wonder, can control forces add sleep-inducing frequencies to your broadcast? Yes, they can. That's a possibility. So there can be the negative thing of something saying, don't listen to Aurora's video, go to sleep instead. But there also might be the other aspects of it where it might be like information is being presented to you that's very, mind-blowing or has profound effect that you might need to take time to integrate. So you might need to do like increments, like do 20 minutes, take a break, 20 minutes, take a break. So maybe if you don't overwhelm your tummy with too much lasagna at once. Yeah. Marco says, I'm thinking about making a bamboo physical Merkaba to help me visualize it better afterwards. If this bamboo Merkaba spins both tetrahedras, will spin in the same direction. Is that a problem? I say not a problem. I say it can help you to learn, do it, understand that these are externalizations, not, anything that's going, so like it's going to make you get enlightened to be able to build that, but you will learn about the structure by doing it. So I think that it's worth doing. Yeah, and some pyramids, it is good to sit under pyramid structures and things like that. But I would say like, what really matters is performing the energy field around your body, not whether you have a physical structure around your body. So the envisionment matters more, but if building something helps you to learn, do it, because that's how I learn. I build stuff and make it and externalize it so I can look at it and understand it. Pedro says, punch the pooties with love to send them to entropy. Perfect, exactly. And Richard says, does lasagna raise one's own consciousness and raise the level of the sea of consciousness on the planet? If so, that must piss off the demigods who want us to stay in the mud of consciousness for their control purposes. That is exactly what is going on. You totally get it. So lasagna-ing raises your own consciousness, in your words. What I would say is more truth comes to you. Energy from the sun and the stars is truth, information, light, and more of it comes to you. The more that you do this, the more that it comes into you. And the thing that is the most threatening to the present control system is more truth. Like that's it. The occult dies when it's no longer occult, it's no longer hidden. The word apocalypse comes from a Greek apokalypsos, meaning eyelid opening. It's no longer hidden. Now you can see everything. So the more of us that do Flying Rainbow Lasagna and bring in this light, the more our planet transforms, your own body transforms, people experience healing and rectification in their own life. Those ripples spread outward. The more of us that do this, a whole entire planet transforms. And all of this is peaceful. Like algorithm, if you're listening, this is what I really am saying. All of this is peaceful. Like I'm not an advocate for physical war or physical violence or anybody getting any kind of a weapon to punch people in the face. That is not how you solve things. That's not effective. If I thought that were effective, I would be like the biggest commando in the world, like with giant guns and bombs and like grenades stuck on my shoulder. But clearly that is not how I dress. I dress like this because I think this is most effective. This is the most effective response to the degradation on our planet and how you actually heal and fix things. Mini Man says, I still can't really understand what the FRL dance is and what I should learn now to do it. Seems pretty complex and I just want to finally do the dance. Should I start with Merkaba visualization or just learn sun gazing? Also, I have not seen you do the dance. Where can I see that? Thanks. So I do have the dance that I did at a conference in October available on Dropbox. There's like a little movie. You can check that out for students of this class. I also have done some in previous semesters examples of what the dance actually is. You have to learn Merkaba and you have to learn sun gazing. So here, what you actually, in order to do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I'm so thirsty, I need more water. Here's what you do. I'm out of all my water. It's really the end of this broadcast. Eat lots of good food for your physical body. Do sun gazing for your non-physical body. Sit in a comfortable chair or sit with your butt on the ground or lie down if you can only lie down. And I use my arms and legs and feet in order to do this dance. And then put on awesome music. And then what you begin with is the up-down movement. Let me drink some. You saw it on the animation. Get that singularity going up and down. And if you want to, you can just envision that on 8 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And then you can imagine turning it to the side. This is boring, but it's like ballet. First position class, second position class, second position is side to side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the third thing you can do is the oscillating in and out. This way, like this, you can do it 8 times. And then you can do end over end. So what I usually do in terms of like the ballet warm-up is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 is like a half from the top. You can tell like top is spinning this way, my top is spinning this way, and 8 is kicking up from the bottom, kicking up from the bottom. That's like ladies with their can-can dancing, kicking their legs up and showing their petticoats underneath. So that's the basic warm up. Like you can go up, down, side, side, in, out, and then tumble end over end. That's like 4 notes. But then we could take those 4 notes and put them together into many different types of songs that are much more jazzy and complex. So what I do with my hands when I'm doing this is end over end, and this is a side to side, but I'll do end, side, in, up. Like that's, we're already getting very complex there, but you don't have to get that complex. So let's talk John Coltrane. I love John Coltrane's music. He is a wonderful jazz musician. He's not on earth anymore. He did the saxophone stuff. And what he would do is have the piano and the drums and the other musicians in his band kind of create some basic patterns and rhythms. And then he would do jazz and bebop all over the place, unpredictable patterns on top of that. And his performances were never the same 2 times. Like he always did it a little bit different. And that is how I look at doing Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So sometimes I will have just like the butterflies or the microbes. You just hold down this beat, right? You be like the bass. And like someone else, you be like the drummer, you hold this beat down. And then someone else, trees, you hold this beat down. And then I will do all the bebop and all around, all the, complex patterns, whatever. Like you can do it like that. So I want you to understand, in joining the Lasagna Band, you could start off with basic patterns and just bop along with the beat. And then you can move into more complex patterns as you gain more confidence and proficiency. And then eventually you'll be able to anticipate and start your own patterns too. So also with music, there's a difference between, like, let's say the band is already playing and you can kind of hear the music and you can like play along, right? That's easier than trying to generate from dead silence all of your own whole symphonic music from all of your own fingertips. So I would say for you guys that are starting out, listen to the band. I'm dancing, I'm singing, I'm playing with the band. Listen for what the band is doing. And just like, hey, find that one note. Just start to play along with the band. And then as this is what SJ was talking about, the more that you do the lasagna dance, the more that you oscillate in this new genetic pattern, the more that your higher faculties will come online. So even though you might start off like, I want to say S-H-I-T, I can't hear shit. I can't hear nothing. I can't see nothing. I can't do nothing. That's what it's like in the beginning. But don't worry, you will get it. As the more that you do it, the more that you will begin to perceive, the more that you will begin to hear, the more that you will begin to interact. And you'll get it. It's just like being a little infant. Sandy wants to know if I'm homework soon. I'm not prepared for giving you guys homework. I'm sorry. So I will give you homework next week. Yes, I'll email you guys a link to the animation and also to me doing the FRL dance. Sharon says, thank you for the efforts I've taken with humanity. Thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. It's been a long journey. It took a lot of patience. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you for the love. Sending love back. Thank you so much. Eleanor says, number one, checking. FRL also possible successfully when still emotionally and mentally invested. Yes, you don't have to be a perfect person inside in order to even begin FRL. Two, was wondering if Earth was still under quarantine, quote unquote, mentioned in the recorded lessons, and if other infested planets and planes were also put or still are under quarantine. I would say no. I would say definitely not under quarantine in any way. Everyone good trying to get through to you desperately, but facing huge obstacles. Number three, further wondering if you could give me a sense of understanding what hyperspace is. Hyperspace is everything that is beyond the physical. So, I mean, science might talk about it in a different way, but I'm understanding it as multidimensionality. That's definitely also like a can of worms to open on a different day because I'm already out of time for today. But the first part, like, just going to re-emphasize that. You don't have to be a perfect, divine, ascended master person with no ego flaws to begin to do the flying rainbow lasagna. The efforts to do the flying rainbow lasagna help you to become more refined and more your true self. So when you start to do this dance, get out of your little encapsulated self and your little stupid mundane desires and connect with things that are much larger and much more expansive and that you really care about on a much larger level. So it's not like you have to say like, oh, do I have to make a choice? Like either I get a candy bar or I save the entire cosmos. It's not like that. It's more like when you start to do this dance, get out of the lower levels of ego gratification and get a much longer ranging intention. Like I want to fix stuff up on a grand scale. I don't just want a stupid candy bar now. That's what it really feels like. Yeah, let's move on. There's so many questions here. Marco says, thank you so much, Aurora, for your liberating teachings. I have to go. We'll catch up later. Thank you. I know that we've gone over time. Thank you. Thank you for the taters, Scott. Thank you very much. Oh, Richard, thank you for noticing my big hair. Good. And Pedro says, love the lasagna. I'm enjoying the serving very much. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you for your enthusiasm and participation. Oh, yes, Carla, thank you for understanding. Carla, you wrote me a very long email, like of many, many questions, and it would just take me so long. Like it takes me a long time to write it and respond to things, you know, in a written form like that. So yeah, I wrote back to you that the most important thing is the very real, not fake, like I would never shine you on, to say, yes, you absolutely can learn to do flying rainbow lasagna yourself and have your own experience of empowerment and transformation. And literally, guys, I wouldn't be spending time doing this class if I didn't think it was possible for other humans to be able to do this. If I really felt and thought inside, like they're too stupid, like it can never happen, like don't even try. Like if I really thought that, I would not be here trying this. So yeah, this to me is not just some way that I fill my time or whatever, you know, try to connect with humanity. Like I'm very genuine in my desire to want to share something good and helpful and uplifting with other people. And I do recognize that some people might have a lack of confidence in any kind of thing, like in being able to sing or being able to make a painting. So I am very much about fostering, you know, people's talent and their empowerment to say you have this potential inside. I believe in you, you know, to refine that potential. So that's it. You don't have to be perfect. Like, to go to music school, do you have to already be a perfect piano player? No. not just to go to music school, but you have to have a desire, you have to have an interest, you have to actually do your piano lessons. So that's how I run this class. Look at this. This class is here for people who are not quantum scientists or super califragilistic mathematicians or fancy folk. You don't have to be that way. In order to learn about these concepts, you have to have a good heart and the desire to actually work and apply yourself and learn. And that's it. And that is what is like. If we're in this refinery, we're like Groundhog's Day. How do you get out of the matrix? That's the answer. It's not about whether you know everything intellectually. You can read stuff. You can read books. You can learn about stuff. It's about whether you get refined as a person. Like, what is the quality of your heart? Who are you on an inner level? That type of stuff. So this class has good people in it. That's the whole point. Like, I got good people here. They're the quality of your heart, the quality of the music that you want to make. Like, that's why you're in this class. So I'm very, very happy and grateful that I have good students in this class. I used to have like 10 students in my class. That was like 5 or 6 years ago when I first started. So I'm incredibly happy and grateful to be connected. I have like a couple of hundred people in this class and everyone who's logged in right now. Yes, thank you very much. I think actually that's a good note for me to end on. It's going to be a 2.5-hour upload, so it's going to be a long upload. And also, I have to say, even though I spoke for 2.5 hours, there's still so much to talk about. So not to be frustrating to Miniman or anyone who just wants to jump ahead. And also, if you're doing the recorded lessons, go directly to lesson 13 about sun gazing, and then I think the next subsequent lesson that is about Merkabah. Do your homework literally, and then you'll be totally ready to do this. Like that's the next thing. So I gave you what's going on at your DNA level today. I gave you what's going on the intellect level, even though there's so much more that I can keep talking about. And then the actual practice of it, like actual telling it. So we'll do more subsequent lessons that are about the actual practice, and I'll show you how I move my body, even though I encourage everybody to do their own dance, which for some people is sitting still, and for some people is moving their arms and gyrating wildly. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you so much. You guys are beautiful. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm not going to log off. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.